Part 25. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 242. Different space, a red portal suddenly appeared. Following the figure of Ryosuke Yagamai, he walked out of it. That's it? Ryosuke Yagamai looked around and felt that it was almost okay. He had just used Huankwan Hirasaka to go to several different spaces. It turned out that the spaces were either very small or the environment was very bad. But this one should be somewhere planet. Although the surrounding land is quite barren, after Yagamai Ryosuke's Kagura mind eye was released, he also discovered that there are still forests and oceans in other parts of the planet. There are no people on this planet. That is, there are no humans. There are some intelligent creatures, and there are some other animals, and they are all quite large. They are somewhat similar to dinosaurs. Let's first take a look at the power of the 12 Megatama Samsara eyes. Ryosuke Yagamai murmured to himself. For a moment, he opened his eyes, red light was released from his eyes, and an astonishing pupil power was brewing in these eyes. Shinra Tianzhang. Ryosuke Yagamai raised his hand, and with a loud bang, everything around him was instantly destroyed, and the scope continued to expand until it enveloped the entire wasteland next door, and then blasted the forest and lake further away into pieces. Shattered. After a while, Yagamai Ryosuke withdrew his hand, his body slowly flew into the air, and he looked down at the earth below. The smallest range of Shinra Tianzhang can reach a radius of more than 1,000 kilometers. Ryosuke Yagamai observed the traces of destruction on the surface, and then murmured to himself. Then let's try the effects of the large-scale Shinra Tensei and Super Shinra Tensei. 1, 1, 3. As soon as he finished speaking, Ryosuke Yagamai suddenly turned his head and looked to the left. There brush. The next second, his figure disappeared in the air. 1 second later, the location is thousands of kilometers away. Yagamai Ryosuke's figure appeared here, looking at an open white portal not far away. I didn't expect that there would be people on such a desolate planet. The three figures who just came out of the portal all looked this way. The Otsutsuki clan. Ryosuke Yagamai also had a slightly stern look. The next second, bang. One of the burly Otsutsuki suddenly appeared behind Ryosuke Yagamai and punched him. Mortal, die. The eyes of the burly Otsutsuki flashed with a cold light. But the next second, he found that his fist was held by a hand. Too weak. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head. There was a click. He directly twisted off one of the burly Otsutsuki's arms. Ah! The burly Otsutsuki couldn't help but scream, but the next second, Ryosuke Yagamai dug out his blue samsara eyes with his own hands. I have collected these eyes. After Yagamai Ryosuke finished speaking, he waved his hand and made a bang. The burly Otsutsuki in front of him instantly flew out and turned into a spray of blood mist in mid-air. Put away the pair of samsara eyes and the severed arm. The Rinnegan eye was soaked in a jar by Ryosuke Yagamai and put into the sealed space in the palm of his hand. The severed arm was thrown directly into the system's biopheromone warehouse, ready to be converted into talent entries later. Speaking of which, those 4 talent entries should be upgraded today. Tisk tisk. It seems like today is Ryosuke Yagamai's lucky day. Ryosuke Yagamai thought to himself. After a moment, he raised his head and looked at the other 2 Otsutsuki. It only took 2 or 3 seconds for Ryosuke Yagamai to kill the burly Otsutsuki. The other 2 Otsutsuki obviously did not expect that he would be so strong. It was easy just to meet him. Crushed their companions. River pose, kill. The leader, Otsutsuki, whose long hair almost fell to the ground, opened his mouth and ordered to another Otsutsuki beside him. Otsutsuki nodded like a river. The next second, he disappeared from the place and appeared on top of Yagamai Ryosuke's head. Upper position. With the power of contract, unblock it. She shouted, and a white tattoo pattern appeared on his body. Then he punched Ryosuke Yagamai with a punch that was powerful enough to smash any ordinary 6th-level strongman. This Otsutsuki River shift is unblocking. After gaining the power of contract, his strength has reached the peak of the 6th path. Shinra Tianzheng. Ryosuke Yagamai raised his hand. With a bang, the rushing Otsutsuki River style was instantly repelled. The two forces collided, almost tearing apart the surrounding space. Beyond the reincarnation eye of Jimigidama, haha. In the distance, Otsutsuki, who was holding his hands, looked at the scene coldly. But the next second, his eyes couldn't help but widen. All things are attracted by heaven. Ryosuke Yagamai raised his hand and used the all-powerful T9 to attract Otsutsuki Kawashiki. Then his arm disappeared and appeared in front of Otsutsuki Kawashiki, and dug out his eyes. Not at the god level, just an ant. Yakami Ryosuke grabbed Otsutsuki Kawashi's head and let his fist hit him, but it had no effect at all. I don't know when, the clothes on Yagamai Ryosuke's body have been replaced by the god Samsara robe. This god Samsara robe is the name given by Ryosuke Yagamai to the god. The power of the Samsara eye. It does not have an exact name. And wearing this robe, any attack below the god level will be against Yagamai. Ryosuke was neutralized. Therefore, no matter how desperately this Otsutsuki River style attacked, it had no effect at all. The next second. Click. Yagamai Ryosuke directly crushed Otsutsuki River style's head. Before that, he has already put a portion of Otsutsukigawa's biological pheromones into the warehouse. After all, this guy is also at the peak of the 6th path level. The terms that can be transformed should be similar to the last Otsutsukigawa style. It cannot. Missed. Bang. A force was transmitted to Otsutsuki's body, instantly blowing his body to pieces. Yagamai Ryosuke clapped his hands, and then looked at the last remaining Otsutsuki over there with a faint look. This guy, very strong. Yagamai Ryosuke could feel that there was an amazing power in the other person's body. This power even surpasses his normal state. God's power. A god-level expert from the Otsutsuki clan. I didn't expect to encounter it so soon. Ryosuke Yagamai murmured. Then he lifted the corners of his mouth and revealed a smile. Very good. He has long been looking forward to fighting with other god-level experts. Foreigners, where did you get your eyes? Otsutsuki Rei looked at Yagamai Ryosuke with indifferent eyes. He seemed not to care at all about the deaths of two of his own clansmen. I have to say that the guys from the Otsutsuki clan have really indifferent personalities. But this is not the case. It has to do with the fact that they have lived too long. The people of the Otsutsuki clan are almost immortal. Because they have lived too long, many of their emotions have seemed to have disappeared. Whether it is towards outsiders or people of the same clan. They all have no emotions. They regard themselves as gods and regard other intelligent races as ants. They are also indifferent to the death of their own race, thinking that they are too weak and should be eliminated. Ryosuke Yagamai is also not surprised by this. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. After all, this is what Otsutsuki should be like. If everyone was as emotional as Otsutsuki Kagaya, then it would be difficult for the Otsutsuki clan to become one. The overlord in this universe exists. Of course it is natural, otherwise. Ryosuke Yagamai said with a faint smile. Lie. Otsutsuki Zero Type said with a serious look, the Samsara eye is an eye that can only be possessed by the blood of my Otsutsuki clan. How can you, a mere outsider, have the right to possess it? Judging from your behavior just now, you also stole these eyes from a member of my Otsutsuki clan, right? Otsutsuki Zero Type obviously refers to Yagamai Ryosuke's act of just taking away the eyes of Otsutsuki Kawashiki and the others. But that was really just what Yagamai Ryosuke did casually. The last time he met Otsutsuki Kawashiki. He didn't even ask for the opponent's 9 Magatama Samsara Eye. Of course. He was a little high that time. Forgot about it? This time, because the difference in strength was too big, Yagami Ryosuke didn't have any mood swings at all. These two big tubes Mu was beaten to death by him. Therefore, on a whim, he dug out their Samsara eyes. Of course. This may also be influenced by Obito. After all, Brother Tuzi had just dug out his eyes. The eyes of the door are not long ago. When Ryosuke Yagami saw these at Satsuki's reincarnation eyes, he would inevitably think of them, and then he picked them out. 0. Whatever you want to think, it's your freedom anyway. Ryosuke Yagami spread his hands and said nonchalantly. This attitude made Satsuki 0, who was accustomed to being superior, very dissatisfied. He could see that Ryosuke Yagami was stronger than most of the members of the Otsutsuki clan. Strong, but still not at the level of a god. How could a mere quasi-god have the qualifications to be so presumptuous in front of him? If we say that other Otsutsuki regard intelligent creatures other than the Otsutsuki clan as ants, and regard themselves as it is the word of God from above, then, in the eyes of Otsutsuki 0, even other non-god level Otsutsuki members of the same race are like ants. You are not qualified to talk to him on an equal footing. There are only those who are also god-level experts. Only then are he qualified to be treated equally. Mortal, your stupidity will get you killed. Otsutsuki 0 said coldly. The next second, a touch of gold spread in his eyes, and then golden Magatama appeared in the original blue Samsara eyes. God. Samsara Eye. Golden Magatama, 2 stacked together, a total of 18. 9 Magatama is the limit of the reincarnation eye. And 18 Magatama is the threshold of the divine reincarnation eye. At this time, the Otsutsuki 0 pose to open the divine reincarnation eye is also to raise your hand and hold it empty bundle. Click. Instantly, the surrounding space was shattered. Countless space forces turned into a big hand and held Yagami Ryosuke's body. There is a price to pay for offending the gods. Otsutsuki 0 said loudly, looking high up. But at this moment, with the power of contract, unblock it. 95% of the power of the contract is unsealed, and it is not ferocious. Instead, beautiful tattoos appear on Yagami Ryosuke's body. The power of the contract of Otsutsuki's style will make horny eyebrows grow on people's heads. But Yagami Ryosuke, the power of the bond seemed to add a filter to Ryosuke Yagami. It made his whole temperament more majestic and domineering. Boom! The terrifying power around Ryosuke Yagami burst out. Instantly. It was to shake away the power of Otsutsuki 0 style. It only unlocked 95% of the power of the contract. It was to make Ryosuke Yagami's power surpass the 6 paths level and reach the true god level. And this. Kami Ryosuke's limit. But it's enough to shock Otsutsuki 0. The power of God. Otsutsuki Reiji stared at his own pair of divine Samsara eyes, looking at the scene in disbelief. In addition to his two ancestors, he actually saw another true god-level powerhouse. 2.2 And this person is not even a member of the Otsutsuki clan. This is impossible. Otsutsuki 0 is unwilling to accept this fact. In his eyes, except for Otsutsuki, all other races in the universe are inferior races. He is not qualified to possess the power of God at all. But now, the scene that appeared in front of him directly shattered his original understanding. Impossible. This is impossible. Otsutsuki 0 roared crazily, you can't have the power of God. And this divine power is actually more powerful than his. Except for the supreme ancestor he had never seen before. The divine power of the foreigner in front of him was almost as strong as that of another of his ancestors. Compared to him, it was several times higher. Otsutsuki 0 knows that he is in the God level and has just entered the first level. God level can be divided into 3 levels. The entry-level God level is the weakest God level. Atsutsuki 0 is at this level, but it has reached the extreme and will soon be able to reach the next level. The peak of the God level, this is the limit for most God level experts, and it is difficult to cross. It is also the target of Atsutsuki 0, and it is also the level of his ancestors. God level invincible, there is no other opponent among the gods. He is the true invincible powerhouse in the universe. It is said that the supreme ancestor of Atsutsuki 0, whom he has never met, has reached this level, and it is also the fundamental reason why the Atsutsuki clan can become the overlord of the universe. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 243. It is said that the supreme ancestor back then had achieved God-level invincible strength and swept across most of the universe, killing all other God-level strong men he could find. In this way, he stepped onto the throne of the most powerful person in the universe. After that, their Atsutsuki clan was the only one in the universe. In the millions of years that followed, no God-level powerful person was born from outside the race. Even if there is a birth, once it appears, it will be killed by this ancestor. The ancestors did not allow the birth of God-level experts other than Atsutsuki. God clan, only one is enough. Then, the ancestor that Atsutsuki 0 often saw, and now the patriarch of the Atsutsuki clan, entered the God level. Since then, the supreme ancestor has rarely appeared. Most things were left to another ancestor to handle. It has been like this for millions of years. Only then did Atsutsuki 0, the third God-level powerhouse, come into being. It can be said that the Atsutsuki clan can become the overlord of the universe and have their current status all thanks to the supreme ancestor. Atsutsuki 0 has always regretted that he has never seen the supreme ancestor with his own eyes. But this still cannot change his admiration for the supreme ancestor. This is also the reason why he cannot accept God-level experts other than Atsutsuki, because Atsutsuki 0 is a fan of the supreme ancestor. You are dead, the supreme ancestor will find you and kill you. Atsutsuki type 0 has a ferocious appearance. Oh. Although I don't know the strength of the supreme ancestor you are talking about, if he is going to come, why hasn't he come yet? Ryosuke Yagami appeared in front of Atsutsuki 0 in an instant, pinched his neck, and lifted him up. Asshole! Atsutsuki 0 roared, and golden light burst out in his eyes. Boom! The terrifying power instantly shattered everything within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers, including the planet under his feet. It was also instantly blown into cosmic dust. God! The power of the Samsara Eye is just an explosion of pupil power, which is as terrifying as 03. This is also the terrifying thing about the power of God. If you are not at the God level, you can't compete with the God level powerhouse. You will be killed instantly in one encounter. And Yakami Ryosuke, but ignored the explosion of Atsutsuki 0, his God Samsara robe allows him to ignore any attack that does not exceed his own. The power of God is also included. It's useless. Your strength is far inferior to mine. You are no different from an ant in front of me. Ryosuke Yagami still held Atsutsuki 0's neck and looked at him calmly and said, "Impossible. Why can your contract increase the power of God? This is impossible." Atsutsuki 0 roared angrily. Obviously, in his understanding, the power of Chi is just a power controlled by non-God level beings to strengthen their own strength. It is useless against the power of gods. Otherwise, Atsutsuki 0 type will not fail to use the power of contract. It is true that this thing cannot bless the power of God at all. Oh! There is such a thing. Ryosuke Yagami really never thought about it. He thought that the power of contract was the same. It turned out that. Is the power of contract he obtained from the entry different from the power of contract of the Atsutsuki clan? Can you ignore the boundaries of the God level and directly increase your power to the God level? It seems that the contract power of your Itsutsuki clan is not very good either. Ryosuke. Yagami said with a sneer. Asshole. Itsutsuki Zero roared angrily. But he probably has been aloof for a long time, and even the curse words can only be said asshole over and over again. It is really lacking. Just incompetent and furious. Ryosuke Yagami shook his head lightly. Then he asked, tell me, among the gods, how does my current strength compare to other god-level strongmen of your Itsutsuki clan? Just because you want to compare with the two ancestors of my Itsutsuki clan. Pooh. Itsutsuki Zero said fiercely. Two ancestors. Ryosuke Yagami understood. It turns out that there are only 3 god-level experts in the Itsutsuki clan. I thought it was a lot. He was a little disappointed. After all, if the 6 paths level can transform golden entries, then the god level, does this mean that it can directly transform god level entries? Although it only takes more than a month to upgrade a golden entry. But if you can directly get the god level entries, that would be great. I just don't know how many god level entries a god level powerhouse can transform. Isn't there just one? That feels like a bit of a loss. Are the 2 ancestors of your Itsutsuki clan stronger than me? Ryosuke Yagami said deliberately. Of course, Itsutsuki Reiji sneered and said, you are just a little stronger than me. Compared with my 2 ancestors, the difference between a bright moon and a firefly is basically the same. Moreover, the supreme ancestor of my Itsutsuki clan is already invincible with god-level strength. That was more than 6 million years ago. Nowadays, the supreme ancestor of our clan must have possessed even more powerful power. How can you compare to those of you who are only at the peak of god level? The Itsutsuki clan has only 3 god-level strong men, but there is an invincible god-level being? This is something Ryosuke Yagami did not expect. When he learned that the Itsutsuki clan only had 3 god-level strong men, Yagami Ryosuke once thought that the strength of the god-level experts of the Itsutsuki clan was not very good. Now it seems that he was wrong. After all, the god-level invincible ancestor Itsutsuki was said by this guy to be more than 600 the most powerful person who reached this level 10,000 years ago. In this way, the strength gap of the Itsutsuki clan is quite serious. There are only 3 god-level ones, one is invincible at the god level, and the other should be like him, also at the peak of the god level. But it is stronger than his strength without using the entry bonus. But it is definitely not as good as 63 times his strength with the addition of entries. So strong after the force bonus. And there is the Itsutsuki Zero in front of me. His strength is not yet at the peak of god level. Just an ordinary god level. He is the weakest among the 3 god level experts in the Itsutsuki clan. It was a god level invincible more than 6 million years ago. But the god level is already the limit of this Naruto universe. Going higher is the level of transcendence. But how easy is it to transcend the extreme of a world? Unless it's an outsider like Ryosuke Yagami, and he's still cheating. Otherwise, it is simply impossible to do it. The supreme ancestor of the Itsutsuki clan has probably been trying to reach a realm above the god level for more than 6 million years. But he obviously never succeeded. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been in seclusion for millions of years. Anyway, time has lost its meaning to the immortal existence. If millions of years don't work, then tens of millions of years. The supreme ancestor of the Itsutsuki clan obviously only has this obsession left. If you don't break through to a higher level of power, I'm afraid I won't be able to get out of seclusion. No wonder, he would directly hand over the position of clan leader. After all, the pursuit is different. What I used to pursue was the throne of the most powerful person in the universe. And then, after truly ascending the throne, he wanted more. He wants to transcend. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. I want to experience the scenery above the god level. Pity. He has tried for millions of years, but still has not succeeded. And it probably won't succeed in the end. After all, there are some things that you can't do just by working hard. From the mouth of this Otsutsuki Zero, Yagami Ryosuke got a lot of the information he wanted. Not only did he know that the Otsutsuki clan only had 3 god-level warriors. He also learned that among the Otsutsuki clan, there was only one so-called supreme ancestor who was stronger than him, and he was still in seclusion to strive for a higher realm. Don't care at all. Seeing that there is no more information to collect, Ryosuke Yagami also tore a piece of meat from Otsutsuki Zero's body and threw it into the system's biopheromone warehouse. This made Otsutsuki Zero glare at him even more viciously. He looked like he wanted to eat his flesh and drink his blood. Ryosuke Yagami didn't care either. Why would he be angry with a dead man? Your eyes are quite beautiful, Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. Otsutsuki Zero's heart suddenly thumped. He wanted to run, but Ryosuke Yagami restrained him. He couldn't run away at all. Next second. Ah! Otsutsuki Zero screamed, and his eyes were directly dug out by Yagami Ryosuke. This is a genuine god. Samsara Eye. In terms of level, it is even more advanced than Yagami Ryosuke's own pair of 12 Megatama Samsara eyes. But Ryosuke Yagami has no intention of changing his eyes. Anyway, his eyes can evolve to the level of the god and Samsara eyes in the future. When the evolution is completed, he can directly swallow the pupil power of these god and Samsara eyes and use them for his own use. Put away the pair of divine Samsara eyes. Ryosuke Yagami followed and looked at the Otsutsuki Zero in his hand. Without the divine Samsara eyes, Otsutsuki Zero's power has dropped to the 6 paths level. Obviously, all his god-level strength lies in these eyes. Without these eyes, he would be no different from other members of the Otsutsuki clan. You are no longer useful, Ryosuke Yagami said lightly. Perhaps he had a premonition that death was coming, and Otsutsuki Zero's body also trembled. Do not kill me. I can surrender to you. Do not kill me. I still have some use for it. Otsutsuki Zero begged like a dog. Where is the aloof and arrogant look from before? Ryosuke Yagami shook his head lightly. Otsutsuki Zero was of no use to him. He also don't need a dog that could bite you at any moment. I never had a dog, Ryosuke Yagami said calmly. The next second, accompanied by a scream, the entire Otsutsuki Zero was crushed to pieces by Ryosuke Yagami's power. The Otsutsuki Zero was dealt with. Ryosuke Yagami took the shot. He clapped his hands, then looked around, and after making sure that nothing was missing, he used Hwang Izumi Hirasaka's ability to disappear directly into the void. Konoha. Yagami Ryosuke, who returned to the village, also took out a large tube Mu-Zero's biopheromone system. Convert it? He muttered silently in his mind. Ding. Conversion to 667 successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Power of God, God, 3 gods of Otsutsuki, Gold, 3rd in the world, Gold. See the 3 talent entries transformed from Otsutsuki Zero. Ryosuke Yagami also nodded with satisfaction. There are also 3 entries, but one of them is directly God level. Needless to say, the Power of God level entries. Moreover, this is the first naturally transformed God level entry that Ryosuke Yagami has obtained. It's of great significance. Immediately, Yagami Ryosuke opened the character panel and found these 3 entries. He first clicked on the God level entry that he was most looking forward to and checked its attributes. Power of God. God, you have the power of God. You are used to being aloof and regard all living beings as ants, but maybe you can change it, otherwise you will die a violent death sooner or later. God's power at 9000%. Comes with the sin of arrogance. Sin of pride. Pride is the original sin. Any arrogant person may die on the spot at any time in front of you. Power of God entry has not many attributes. A numeric attribute, an attached ability attribute. This ability attribute is quite strange. It turns out that an arrogant person may die on the spot at any time in front of Ryusuke Yagami. I don't know how likely this is. Ryusuke Yagami thinks it shouldn't be very high, maybe it's a floating value. How exactly does it float? He guessed that it might be related to the strength gap between the other party and himself. If the opponent is weaker than him, the risk of death will be greater. If you are stronger than him, then vice versa. And the stronger you are, the less likely you are to die unexpectedly. But no matter how small it is, it still exists. If the other party is unlucky, he might die on the spot. Ryusuke Yagami didn't pay too much attention to this passive ability. After all, this is about probability. It's really hard to say, just take a look at it. What really concerned him was the attribute of divine power. The 9000% bonus is the highest single attribute bonus that Ryusuke Yagami has ever seen. Moreover, the power of God is not energy like chakra, in fact, it refers to the strength of a God-level powerhouse. The 9000% bonus is equivalent to directly increasing Ryusuke Yagami's power at the God level by twice as much. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 244. The entry attributes of Hobian Titanium. Is it okay to directly increase the strength by 90 times? Fortunately, the attribute of this entry belongs to me. Ryusuke Yagami thought happily. If it were someone else, that would be terrible. Fortunately, it was Ryusuke Yagami's own thing, so that would be great. The attributes of the entry power of God make Ryusuke Yagami quite satisfied. Although, it only adds one God's power. But the effect is 100 times better than other attributes. After all, this is no different from an all-round strength bonus. The only difference is that the God's power bonus is only for God-level power. Low or high? Neither works, but just right. Ryusuke Yagami's current strength is at the God level. Just useful. Adding this God's power entry, my current strength should be invincible at the God level, right? He can't be weaker than the supreme ancestor of the Otsutsuki clan. Ryusuke Yagami thought to himself. I think it should be almost there. After all, his previous peak combat power has already reached the peak of the God level. In fact, it is not very far from the God level invincibility. Now there are 90 more times of strength increase. This makes Ryusuke Yagami's power skyrocket. It should not be a problem to reach the level of God level invincibility. In other words, Ryusuke Yagami's current strength is already as strong as the two in this universe. One of the strongest? That's awesome. After looking at the attributes of the power of God entry, Ryusuke Yagami also clicked on the attributes of the other two entries converted from Otsutsuki 0. Both entries are golden entries. The attributes are far less powerful than the previous power of God. The three gods of Otsutsuki, Gold, you are one of the three gods of the Otsutsuki clan. Unfortunately, you are not the strongest one, but the weakest one. Physical fitness add 1500%. Physical power add 1500%. Third in the world, Gold, you are one of the only three God-level powerful people in the universe, so your strength can be ranked third in the world. Congratulations, entering the top 3. Physical fitness add 1000%. Physical power add 1000%. Chakra add 1000%. The attributes of the two entries are quite ordinary, not particularly powerful golden entries. Certainly. It's not bad either. However, for the current Yagami Ryusuke, the increase in the strength of the golden entry has been very small. The only more useful attribute is probably physical fitness. After all, Yagami Ryuzuki's ability to unblock the power of contract before this had only reached 95%, and there was still 5% that could not be unblocked. Not to mention superimposing the God form mode. That's even harder. Therefore, the attribute of physical fitness will never go out of style. This is also the attribute that Yagami Ryuzuki most wants to see in the golden entry. This time it increased by 2500%, and Ryusuke Yagami was also very happy. This means that he can unlock more power of contract. It's almost 96% unblocked. Although it only increased by 1%, it is still a big improvement. After all, the remaining amount is only 4%. In the afternoon, Ryusuke Yagami personally took the 3 Ino and the other 3 members of Team 10 on a mission out of the village. Leave the village around 1 p.m. I came back around 5 o'clock in the evening. The mission went smoothly. Today, Ino and the others have also improved a lot in strength. After Shikamaru was promoted to Chuyunin, he felt much more mature and no longer as lazy as before. Although I am still lazy sometimes, I also know that I should spend some time practicing every day. Koji's character has also changed a lot. And Ino, with the help of Ryusuke Yagami, her strength has reached the level of special jounin. It's just that the ninja rating is still a genin. Even though Ino has special jounin strength, in fact, Ino's strength is still at the bottom among Ryusuke Yagami's girlfriends. Because Ino himself has no enthusiasm for training. She prefers to spend her time on other things. She used to do flower arranging, but now Ino also likes cooking. I am currently learning cooking skills from Yukito. And like Hinata Kaoru and others, their strength is already at the elite jounin level. In comparison, Ino's special jounin strength is indeed average. But even so, her strength is no worse than Shikamaru, and she is among the 9 Xiaoqiang who graduated from the same class. That's just weaker than Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. As for the others, Shikamaru and Ino are about the same strength, and everyone else is more than a step weaker. Naruto and Sasuke are the only ones among the 9 Xiaoqiang this time. Then there's Hinata. Then there are the strengths of Ino and Shikamaru. After that, there are others. Xiaoqiang's growth has actually been very fast. Look at the other guys who graduated a year or 2 early. Many of them are still at the level of genin. See clearly, it's genin strength, not genin rating. Xiaoqiang, whose true strength is only genin, is probably none of them. Even Sakura has about the strength of a Chuyunin. Therefore, Sakura's ability to enter the 9 Xiaoqiang is not entirely due to the relationship between Sasuke and Naruto. She still has some talents, but not many. But this is not much, it depends on who you compare with. Compared to Naruto and Sasuke, that's naturally not much. But if compared with other civilian ninjas, that's quite a lot. Ryusuke Yagami had dinner with Ino and the others from Team 10. After eating, he asked Shikamaru and Koji to go home first, and then took Ino for a walk around the village. Ino held his arm and raised her head to look at him from time to time, smiling like a fool. What laughing? Ryusuke Yagami also looked down at Ino and asked her. No, I just feel happy. Ino stood up on tiptoes and kissed Yagami Ryusuke on the face. Ryusuke, we are about to get engaged, are you looking forward to it? Engagement, yes, the day of engagement is coming soon. Ryusuke Yagami finally knew what Ino was laughing about. It turned out to be because of this. The Hyuga clan and the Yamanaka clan had been discussing the engagement. In the end, they each chose 1 days. And the day after tomorrow is the day when Yagami Ryusuke and Hinata are engaged, and 2 days later, it is the day when he and Ino are engaged. They are only 2 days apart. This is also convenient for those guests. Mainly because of convenience guests who have not been staying in Konoha for a long time. After all, it is quite troublesome to travel back and forth, but if it is only 2 days apart, then it is better to stay in Konoha for 2 days first. In fact, with the engagement of Yagami Ryusuke, the day is approaching, and some guests from outside the village have arrived in Konoha early. You just can't wait to marry me. Yagami Ryusuke smiled and pinched Ino's nose. Yes. I really want to grow up quickly. Ino's personality is not like Hineda's. Although Hineda is much better than before and is no longer so inward and shy, if it were Hineda at this time, she would definitely not admit it so openly. See for exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. He also said that he wanted to grow up quickly. Just wait 2 more years, it will be soon. Ryusuke Yagami gently hugged Ino and said. 2 years later, they are both 16 years old. In the ninja world, there are 14-year-olds who get married, and there are many people who become parents at the age of 15. However, Yagami Ryusuke still wants to wait for them to grow up a bit. Getting married at 16 is almost enough. Now, if you get engaged first, you can give them an explanation. For girls, their boyfriends can give them an explanation. Accounting is very important. In the past life, it might be an official announcement that the circle of friends is not blocked. It might also be having a meal with both parents. Or it might be having a cozy nest of your own. It's all a kind of explain. Of course. Just play coffee. There is no need to explain, happiness is the most important thing to them. Back to the villa in the evening. Ryusuke Yagami sat down and rested for a while. At this time, Konan came over with a cup of tea, sit next to him. Are you tired? Konan asked. While holding his arm, he leaned his head on him. Ryusuke Yagami looked at Konan, smiled and shook his head. Konan's change is really big. It's not an exaggeration to use earth-shaking actions. However, for a character like Xiao Nan, once he identifies with a person, he will not change. This kind of change is normal. After all, the two of them have that kind of relationship, and no matter how close they are, it is not too close. Ding. Congratulations to the host, the idol entry has been upgraded. Ding. 4 prompts in a row diverted Kami Ryusuke's attention. He gently hugged Xionin while opening the character panel and finding the 4 entries for successful upgrades. While placing the other 4 golden entries on the 4 vacant idol slots, he clicked on one of the upgraded entries to view the information. The glory of Itsutsuki, God. As a member of the Itsutsuki clan, you have guarded the glory of the Itsutsuki clan throughout your life. Anyone who dares to despise the existence of the Itsutsuki clan, you swear to eradicate them. Chakra add 3000%. The power of magic add 3000%. The power of the pupil technique is add 3000%. Eye power add 3000%. Before this entry was upgraded, the values of all 4 attributes were 1000%. Entries like this are quite rare. They mainly have 4 attributes with full values, which are relatively rare. After this time, the attribute type has not changed. But numerically, it all increased by 2000%. The 4 of them add up to 12,000%. It can be said to be very good. Moreover, the power of the pupil technique and the pupil power attribute of this entry are quite useful. What a pity. There is no bonus attribute of physical fitness. It would be even better if we had this again. Destroyer of the ninja world, God. You have been tasked with destroying the ninja world since you were a child. Your father told you that this is your destiny, and you are destined to be the man who will destroy the ninja world. Ninjutsu power add 4000%. The power of magic add 4000%. Physical power add 4000%. Comes with Ninja World Destroyer. The entry Destroyer of the Ninja World is similar to the entry above. The attributes have not changed, but the values have increased. However, the Ninja World Destroyer entry has increased its numerical value even more, with all 3 numerical attributes increased by 3000%. Added up, it's a full 9,000% increase. However, the total value is the same as the previous entry. And, to be honest, the attributes of the entry Destroyer of the Ninja World are not as good as those of the previous entry, De Zhao Hao. Ryosuke Yagami now wants attributes such as physical fitness, eye power, and power of eye skills, preferably all-round strength bonus. Simple chakra and magic are actually dispensable to him. Certainly. Ryosuke Yagami doesn't mind either. Overall, the entry Destroyer of the Ninja World is not bad after the upgrade. Within the average. Descendant of Itsutsuki, God, you are a descendant of the Itsutsuki clan. The pure blood of Itsutsuki flows in your body. Your noble bloodline also brings you great strength. Chakra adds 6,000%. The power of magic adds 6,000%. Attached, enhanced Itsutsuki's physique. This entry of Itsutsuki descendants has two numerical attributes, and each attribute directly increases the numerical bonus by 5,000%. The attached Itsutsuki physique has also become an enhanced version. The difference between the enhanced version of Itsutsuki's physique and the ordinary Itsutsuki's physique is mainly reflected in the recovery ability. An ordinary Itsutsuki's physique cannot be restored after the body is broken into small pieces. And the head is also a weak point. It is more difficult to recover and consumes a lot of energy. When the energy is exhausted, you die. But the enhanced version of Itsutsuki's physique is amazing. There is no weakness of dying if the energy is exhausted. No weakness in the brain. Even if the body is beaten into invisible pieces, it can still recover. However, this kind of recovery ability is actually better than nothing for Ryosuke Yagami. After all, he is already one of the two most powerful people in the Naruto universe. Who else could kill him? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 245. Martyr, God, you have been destined to sacrifice yourself for the members of the clan from the moment you were born, so your final outcome will only be like this. You are a martyr, on the road to fulfilling your mission, you will never look back. Chakra adds 6,000%. Physical fitness adds 6,000%. Comes with 100 more times. If we say, the first three entries were added casually by Ryosuke Yagami. Then the entry Martyr was placed on the AFK position after Yagami Ryosuke selected it. After all, this entry gave him another chance. This is a second life. And after the upgrade, this entry also lived up to Ryosuke Yagami's expectations for it. Not to mention the properties. In addition to the attribute of physical fitness, Ryosuke Yagami no longer cares about the other attribute of chakra. He has too much chakra. More than Itsutsuki, who has swallowed the fruit of a sacred tree. But his physical fitness is quite good, which allowed him to improve his ability to unlock the power of contract by another 1%. Reached 97% level. That's great. And the ability to do it again originally came with it. Now, it suddenly turned into 100 times again. Do it again to gain an extra life. Then come again 100 times. Just add 100 lives? It's too much. How can someone kill me? Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. It can be seen that he is really satisfied with the attributes of this entry. After all, this is an extra 100 lives? Who would be dissatisfied? It is simply too satisfying. Satisfied couldn't be more satisfied. With Ryosuke Yagami's already invincible strength, 100 more lives. In that case, even if he encounters an accident and is killed once before he can activate the peak equipment, it will be enough. It doesn't matter anymore. After all, he has 101 lives. One is missing, but there are still 100 left. Next, we have to wait for more than a month. Ryosuke Yagami closed the message 520 of this entry, and then looked at the 7 entries on the 7 hang-up slots. 3 of them were hung up 2 days ago, and the other 4 were just hung up. but even the first 3 will have to wait almost a month and a half to be upgraded. During this time, let's see what entries can be converted into the 2 copies of Otsutsuki's biopheromone we just got. It would be better to have something to do with eye skills and the like. Then add a bonus attribute to physical fitness. What a pity. Attributes that improve strength in a full range are too rare. Ryosuke Yagami has transformed so many talent entries, and only then I have only seen a few cases. The next day, at 9 a.m. Yagami Ryosuke conducted special training for Ino and the 10th team at the training ground number 1. In fact, it was to guide them in the use of their respective secret techniques. When it was time for lunch, Yagami Ryosuke, the instructor Jounin, also took 3 students to eat Ichiraku ramen. Recently, the new flavor was launched by the handmade uncle. The taste is improved compared to the past taste, but Yagami Ryosuke thinks this may be because people like the new and dislike the old. It was caused by his mentality. In fact, it was almost the same. After lunch, Yagami Ryosuke asked Shikamaru and the others to rest, and then he took Ino for a walk and then sat down in a park. The 2 looked not far away. A group of children playing ninja games seemed to have seen themselves when they were children. Although they are actually only 14. Tomorrow is the day when Ryosuke and Hinata get engaged. Hinata must be getting ready at home today. Ino leaned her head against Yagami Ryosuke and said with some envy. She was envious of Hinata being able to get engaged to Yagami Ryosuke first. But Ino was just a little envious and not jealous of Hinata. In 2 days, yes. Yes, I have to prepare the day after tomorrow. There are a lot of things to prepare. Ino said. In fact, in comparison, Ryosuke Yagami is quite relaxed. Because he has nothing to prepare in particular. Just wait until tomorrow and go directly there. As for the location of the engagement, Ryosuke Yagami has already been there. A huge auditorium has been built in the village with wood before. The engagement ceremony will be held there. Ryosuke, do you think we will have children in the future? Ino asked suddenly. Yagami Ryosuke was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Ino to ask this question. Yes, how many do you want then? Yagami Ryosuke looked down at Ino with a smile and asked her. No matter how many, 1 is enough. Ino blushed and said a little embarrassed. She also patted him gently with her hand. Several, do you want to have so many children? Moreover, Yagami Ryosuke will get married and have so many wives in the future. Even if each of them gives birth to 1 for him, it will be a lot. If there were just a few more children, would it be okay? Either one is fine, but Ino, do you prefer a boy or a girl? Ryosuke Yagami smiled. In fact, he doesn't care how many children he will have in the future. It doesn't matter even if he doesn't have any children. After all, they are all immortal. There is no need to worry about retirement issues. I prefer girls. Ino thought for a moment and said, for a boy, I always think it would be too noisy. It's okay, I was quite naughty when I was little. Ryosuke Yagami said. Right, Ino said with a smile. Ryosuke, actually I saw you when I was very young, maybe 4 or 5 years old. It was also in the park, but not this park. You were playing with some boys. Ninja games. Is it? Ryosuke Yagami doesn't remember this. After all, he was so young at the time, and he really didn't notice Ino. Yes, you even broke an uncle's camera at that time, do you remember? Ino said with a smile. After saying this, Yagami Ryosuke really remembered it. There was indeed one time when he and some neighbor boys were playing ninja games in a nearby park, and then accidentally bumped into an uncle who was taking pictures, knocking the uncle's camera to the ground and breaking it. Later, the rest of them pooled their money to compensate the uncle for repairing the camera. He was even scolded by his mother for this. When you said that, I remembered it. Ryosuke Yagami said. When I got home that night, my mother gave me a lesson. The memory is so profound. Hearing this, Ino also laughed. Thinking of Yagami Ryusuke being taught by his aunt, she couldn't help but find it interesting. In the afternoon, Yagami Ryusuke asked Shikamaru and the others to practice by themselves. Then he walked to the side of Nagasaki. I sat down on the chair and took out the Itsutsuki River-style biopheromone system. Convert it? Yagami Ryusuke said silently in his heart. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Glory of Itsutsuki, Gold, Power of Contract, Gold, Lord of the Samsara Eye, Gold. Itsutsuki's Glory? The Power of Contract? These two entries were just upgraded to God level yesterday. Unexpectedly, it's here again. Could it be that there are many duplicate entries transformed by the Itsutsuki clan? Ding! To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. If it is detected that the host has converted a duplicate entry, is it decomposed into experience value? Decompose. Decomposition is impossible. The decomposition of one golden entry only has 10,000 experience points, and two are 20,000. Does Ryusuke Yagami have 20,000 experience points? He has no shortage. So, decomposition, it is impossible to decompose, but the same entry cannot be repeatedly equipped, even if one is gold level and the other is god level, because the names are repeated. Although the system can allow Yagami Ryusuke to have unlimited equipment the number of entries. But it seems that they take the matter of duplicate names very seriously. But even this is okay. Because Ryusuke Yagami can wait for the next time the idle slot becomes available to put these two entries. Upgrade. After reaching the god level, directly use the system synthesis function to synthesize. Then a random super god level entry will be synthesized. Then we won't repeat it? What a genius! Ryusuke Yagami did not accept the system's request for decomposition and directly put the two duplicate entries aside. Although it cannot be equipped, it can exist without decomposition. In the end, the remaining entries are this entry with the same name. Lord of the Samsara Eye. It sounds quite bluffing. Don't know what the properties are like. Thinking about it, Ryusuke Yagami also clicked on the attributes of this entry. Lord of the Samsara Eye, Gold. You are the master of the Samsara Eye. You have unique control over your eyes. Any pupil technique in your hands can have an effect far beyond that of others. The power of pupil technique add 2000%. Eye power add 1000%. Eye power recovery add 1000%. This entry, not bad. At least there is a bonus attribute of pupil power and pupil power. Moreover, the power of the pupil technique still has a 2000% bonus. This is an extremely rare number among golden entries. You know, the bonus value of many god level entries is only 3000%. The 2000% bonus can be said to be unique among the golden entries. After all, this entry does not only have this attribute. It also has two other attributes that also add 1000%. This is very valuable. A good entry, it should be stronger after upgrading. Ryusuke Yagami nodded, quite satisfied with this entry. The next day, Ryusuke Yagami got up early. In the past, he always got up at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. But today, before 7 o'clock he got up and washed up. At 7:10, Yagami Ryusuke simply had some breakfast and went out. Today is the day when he and Hinata were engaged. Although he didn't need to be like Hinata in the past few days, make various preparations, but today, he has a lot to do. That's the problem with big families. Ryusuke Yagami muttered in his heart. However, when he thought of Hinata's expectations for this day, Ryusuke Yagami felt that it didn't matter if he was a little more busy. The engagement ceremony, various preliminary ceremonies and so on. Compared with Yagami, Ryusuke imagined it to be even more complicated. But on this day, the whole of Konoha knew that Yagami Ryosuke was going to be engaged to the eldest daughter of the Hinata family. To be exaggerated, the entire ninja world had received the news. At least the 5 major ninja villages. They knew it, and they even sent someone to congratulate them in advance. They also gave them gifts. For this, Yagami Ryosuke, the host, naturally wanted to express his gratitude to them. No matter how our relationship was in the past. At least today, Yagami Ryosuke Kami will be polite to them. He will never be rude. In the morning, after going through various complicated rituals, Ryosuke Yagami finally saw Hinata dressed up. Hinata was extraordinarily beautiful today. Touching. But the clothes on my body are a bit too cumbersome. They look quite heavy. After all, the hem at the back is dragging on the ground for several meters, and someone needs to help carry it, otherwise it will be troublesome to walk. Hinata, you look so beautiful today. Ryosuke Yagami walked over and stood next to Hinata, accepting everyone's blessings and whispering in her ear. Really? Hinata smiled happily. She had been preparing for today 2 days in advance. It took more than half an hour just to put on this outfit. It took more than half an hour to put on the headdress. All dressed up. However, in front of Yagami Ryosuke's words, all these troubles instantly became no longer troublesome, making Hinata feel that all the careful preparations she had made were worth it. Women should be happy with their appearance. And Hinata's character is so gentle and considerate. If this were some of the women in Ryosuke Yagami's previous life, she would probably ask him with a straight face, "Wasn't I beautiful before?" And a situation like this will never happen to Hinata. In fact, Ino and the others will not be like this. None of the women around Yagami Ryosuke does this. In fact, even if he indulges all women in the ninja world, even Sakura, are far less capable than some women in modern times. Therefore, a second-dimensional wife is really sweet. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 246. Hinata, Ryosuke, congratulations. When will you get married? Hinata is so beautiful today. Ryosuke is handsome too. Fool. When did Ryosuke stop being handsome? Haha. Lord Yagami, congratulations. Elder sister. Brother-in-law. Look here. Click. Hanabi not far away took a camera, pointed it at her sister and brother-in-law, and took a photo. Brother-in-law, isn't your sister very beautiful today? Hanabi trotted over after taking the photo and asked with a smile. Of course. But Hanabi is also very cute today. Ryosuke Yagami smiled and rubbed the little girl's head. Hanabi squinted her eyes and smiled with a very useful look on her face. Hinata stood aside and watched the interaction between her boyfriend and her sister, and she also smiled knowingly, feeling in her heart the atmosphere was filled with happiness. At night, Ryosuke Yagami and Hinata, who had finished their engagement ceremony and sent away their guests, were walking hand in hand on a quiet street in the village. There were only the light of street lamps and the distant surroundings. The barking of dogs echoed with each other, and the two of them strolled along without speaking, breaking the tranquility of this moment. After a moment, Hinata suddenly stopped, turned around, and gently hugged Yagami Ryosuke. What's wrong? Ryosuke Yagami asked gently. It's nothing, I just feel so happy. Hinata buried her head on Yagami Ryosuke's chest and said with a happy smile on her face, Ryosuke, we will never be separated in this life, right? Of course. Ryosuke Yagami gently touched Hinata's head and said. Then when will we? Hinata suddenly hesitated and looked embarrassed. Even his face turned red. When Yagami Ryosuke saw her like this, how could he not know what Hinata was thinking? Don't think about it so much. Give it another 2 years and wait until you are older. Yakami Ryusuke gently patted Hinata's little head. Hinata responded softly and nodded. In fact, Hinata was a little envious of Kurane-sensei and the others. They can be like Yagami Ryusuke, but because she was still young, she couldn't take the final step with Yagami Ryusuke and truly give herself to him completely. Sometimes Hinata really wanted to grow up quickly. Although she had to, the older one is actually quite fast, especially in a certain place. The scale is already very impressive. But she looks like she is still a little girl. Not like Teacher Hong and the others. She looks like an adult at first glance. Don't think so much, there are still days to come. Ryusuke Yagami lowered his head and kissed Hinata on the forehead. Let's go, we should go back, otherwise your father will think I abducted you. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. Hearing this, Hinata also blushed and shook her head. No way, my father just told me yesterday that if I want to, I can live in your house. Oh. Is my father-in-law so reasonable? My father is very reasonable. Haha. Okay, Hinata, you're right. The two walked forward talking and laughing, and the shadow behind them was stretched very long in the moonlight. The next day, Ryusuke Yagami didn't get up until after 9 o'clock. After getting up, he went to the kitchen to pour a glass of water. Yagami Ryusuke took out the biopheromone from the guy who didn't know his name, but should be a member of the Itsutsuki branch. Let the system convert it into a talent entry. Ding. Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Itsutsuki separation, gold, Kawashiki-sama's loyal bastard, gold, martyr, gold. Sure enough, there were 2 more identical entries. Ryusuke Yagami was not surprised when he saw this result. After all, he was mentally prepared. Yesterday's entry on Itsutsuki Kawa's transformation was the same, with 2 duplicates. Fortunately, there was another Lord of the Samsara Eye. It's different. And today's 3 entries are almost all repeated. If the second entry is not related to the character's name, all 3 entries will be repeated. That makes Yagami cool feeling depressed. Fortunately, not all members of the Itsutsuki clan have the same name. Ryusuke Yagami thought to himself. But the possibility of that happening is extremely low. How can there be a clan of people with the same name? Isn't that strange? Let's look at the attributes, but it should be similar. Yakami Ryusuke thought to himself, and clicked on the information about the only item that could be equipped. The loyal dog leg of Lord Itsutsuki River Style, gold. You are the loyal dog legger of Lord Itsutsuki River Style. Everything is based on Itsutsuki River Style's orders. You are even willing to sacrifice your own life for it. Chakra add 1000%. Physical fitness add 1000%. Comes with damage transfer. Really? Although the names are different, it is only the first character that is different. In terms of properties, they are exactly the same. There is no difference at all. Forget it, after all, it has 1000% added physical fitness, and even the accompanying abilities are exactly the same, so there is nothing superimposed and it is a waste. Ryusuke Yagami shook his head, and then equipped the entry. After equipping the entry, Ryusuke Yagami's physical fitness improved a bit. But it was not enough to unlock 98% of his contract power. Level, still a little worse. It's almost there, it's just the last 3%, it won't take long. Yakami Ryusuke drank the water in the cup in one gulp, then put down the cup and turned to the backyard of the villa. In the backyard, Zionan was watering the garden. Not far away, Yukito was feeding the goldfish in the pond. Usually in the villa, only Konan and Yuki stay here all day. As for the others, even Tamari was pulled by Tsunade some time ago because Ryusuke Yagami assigned her the identity of a Konoha ninja. Go be a young man. Shizun has company. The next day, Konoha, which had just been lively 2 days ago, became lively again. The last time was because of the engagement ceremony between Ryusuke Yagamai and the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan. And today, it was because of the engagement ceremony between Ryusuke Yagamai and the eldest lady of the Yamanaka clan. The male protagonist is still the same person, but the female protagonist has been changed. However, the guests were almost the same group, but some of them were different. Representatives from the other 4 great ninja villages still came to congratulate him with gifts. Apparently they prepared 2 different gifts. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. I really envy this guy Ryusuke. Kakashi stood on the lawn outside the auditorium, eating delicious food while looking enviously at Yagamai Ryusuke, who was leading Ino to entertain the guests. What are you envious of, Kakashi? Don't you have a girlfriend too? Marino Iaki said on the side. You do not understand. Kakashi glanced at him. People like Marino Iaki will never understand his mood. After all, in Marino Iaki's vitality, the thing that has been with him the longest is the pile of torture tools. There is no woman in his heart, and he tortures the god of nature. Although Kakashi did not have a woman in the past, at least he was normal in his hobbies. Otherwise, he would not read a pornographic book every day. How can I understand if you don't tell me? Marino Ibuxi said speechlessly. At this time, Jiraiya with a smile on his face also walked over from not far away. He laughed and hugged Kakashi's neck. Ibuki, what Kakashi wants to say is that men want to hug each other, but he can only hug one. Jiraiya laughed and said. Marino Iaki looked suddenly enlightened, then looked at Kakashi with contempt, turned around and left. Kakashi. No, I'm just jealous, I don't really think so. Ibuxi, what did you mean by that look just now? Hey. Don't go. Kakashi looked at Marino Hiki speechlessly as he turned to leave, then looked at Jiraiya beside him angrily and said, Jiraiya-sama, are you so interesting? Yes, quite interesting. Jiraiya laughed and said. Kakashi rolled his eyes, but in his heart he was cursing Jiraiya for never being able to find a wife. On the other side. Zero request for flowers. Naruto was holding a pile of food and was eating vigorously. This Naruto was also very happy in the past 2 days. He finally got over the incident with Sasuke a little bit and no longer sighed and missed Sasuke every day. I wonder if this is turning grief and anger into appetite. But Naruto's appetite is originally that's fine. It's normal to eat too much. Haven't you seen that Naruto has grown a lot taller recently? This is the benefit of eating too much. Naruto, you are indeed here. At this time, Inyazuka Kiba came over with Shino and the others. Stop eating, we are going over there to take pictures. Inyazuka Kiba looked speechlessly at Naruto, who was still chewing on the chicken legs. Photograph. Wait a moment. When Naruto heard this, he quickly wiped out the food on his hands, wiped his mouth with a tissue, and followed Ryuga and the others over there to take pictures. Ryusuke, when are you planning to have a baby? Just after greeting a few enthusiastic guests, Yagamai Ryusuke turned around and took a rest when Tsunade came to the door. Sister Tsunade, I'm only 14. Isn't it a little early for you to induce labor now? Ryusuke Yagamai took a sip of water and looked at Tsunade, who came to give birth in front of him speechlessly. It's not too early. My mother was only 15 years old when she was pregnant with me. Tsunade said. Ryusuke Yagamai almost forgot about the situation of early marriage and early childbearing in the ninja world. However, he couldn't stand it when he was asked to become a father at the age of 14 or 15. Let's talk about it, 2 years later. Ryusuke Yagamai said perfunctorily. How could Tsunade not see his perfunctory attitude? She also shook her head helplessly. She was still thinking about letting Ryusuke Yagamai spread branches and leaves for the Senju clan. Although Yakami Ryusuke did not change his surname to Senju, but his bloodline cannot be changed. No matter what his surname is, his children will definitely have the blood of the Senju clan flowing through them. This alone is enough. Okay, you kid always takes your time and is not in a hurry for anything. Tsunade said helplessly. She had nothing to do with Ryosuke Yagami. Although she was an elder, this elder was somewhat far-fetched, so many times, Tsunade could not urge Ryosuke Yagami as an elder. As for Yagami Ryosuke's real elder, his mother Yagami Mitsuki, Tsunade very much doubts that Yagami Ryosuke's character is inherited from his mother. Because Yagami Mitsuki also has a slow temperament. She is very concerned about her son getting married and having children. Not anxious at all. This left Tsunade speechless. Neither of them were in a hurry, she was the only one who was anxious about their feelings, right? This is what I call enjoying life, isn't it the same for you, Tsunade-sama? Ryosuke. Yagami said with a smile. Can I compare with you? Tsunade said angrily, I'm the Hokage, I'm very busy every day. Ryosuke Yagami. No, where did you get the nerve to say this? Who doesn't know that you, the Hokage, are the hands-off shopkeeper and the person who works in the Hokage's office every day? Isn't that Shizuan? Oh. Now there is another Tamari. Poor Tamari, she came to Konoha just to pursue love. Unexpectedly, Tsunade pulled her into a young man. It's also thanks to Tsuna's big hands. If it were another Hokage, even a good old man like Minato Namikaze, he wouldn't be able to trust some matters in the village to be handled by a ninja who was originally from another village. But Tsunade has such a big heart. Or she believes in Ryosuke Yagami's vision. Speaking of Hokage, when are you going to take over my position? Tsunade stared at Ryosuke Yagami, with a look like I won't leave until you give me a definite explanation. No, Sister Tsunade, do you really not want to be Hokage? Ryosuke Yagami was also speechless. He remembered that Tsunade in the original work was not like this. Is it because of the lack of external pressure that Tsunade lacked the sense of responsibility to become Hokage? Sure enough. Or is it because of me, a Konoha person? Because of the Dingai Shenzhen, Tsunade does not need to bear any pressure at all and can give up her job at any time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 247. We'll talk about the Hokage thing tomorrow. If Tsunade-sama really wants to give up the Hokage's position, then leave it to me in 2 years. Ryosuke Yagami thought for a while. In the past, he thought it would be troublesome to be Hokage, so he never accepted it. But now, if you think about it, it's not that troublesome. At worst, he could just be a hands-off shopkeeper like Tsunade. Moreover, Hokage is also a job. In other words, during his tenure as Hokage, he is considered to be at work 24 hours a day. So wouldn't he be able to get the bonus of a worker's soul at any time? And with words from the Team Jounin. Let's be honest, it has to come to an end. For example, the current Team 10 actually no longer needs Ryosuke Yagami to lead them on missions. After all, Ino and Shikamaru are both special Jounins. Koji is also stronger than the average Chuyunin. In such a team, it actually doesn't matter whether there is a Jounin leading the team. Therefore, it is not impossible to accept Tsunade's Hokage request. Wait 2 years? Don't wait, just this year. When Tsunade saw that Ryosuke Yagami had finally relented on taking over as Hokage, she quickly climbed up the pole and changed Ryosuke Yagami's original 2-year wait to this year. Let's talk tomorrow. Ryosuke Yagami said. Okay, then we will have a meeting tomorrow to discuss the specific matters for you to take over as Hokage. Tsunade said with a smile. She was very happy and anxious now. Not only because she could finally get rid of the responsibility of Hokage 723, but if she went out to gamble in the future, she would no longer have to worry about her identity as Hokage. The same was true because she successfully handed over the village to Yagami Ryusuke. It was like a kind of inheritance. And Tsunade undoubtedly found a very good, even too good successor. Therefore, it is no wonder that she is so happy. Of course. The main reason should be the former. In the evening, Ino waved goodbye to his old father who looked worried, then took Yagami Ryusuke's hand, and the two returned to the villa together. Ryusuke, can I come and stay here often from now on? Ino said with a smile. Okay, my home is your home, you can come anytime you want. Ryusuke Yagami said. Then I'll stay for a month first. Ino said with a smile. Ryusuke Yagami shook his head with a smile. Compared to Hinata, Ino is indeed more direct. They just got engaged and can't wait to move here. Thinking of the old father-in-law Yamanaka Hiki just now, the look in his eyes. Ryusuke Yagami always felt like he was a thief. Strange, it was clearly Ino who wanted to move here, but he was not the one who instigated it. What was he guilty of? Ryusuke Yagami thought in confusion. There was nothing to say all night. The next day, before Ryusuke Yagami opened his eyes, he felt something sweeping in front of his nose. He opened his eyes, and as expected, he saw Ino lying on top of him, sweeping his nose with her hair. Sweep away. Good morning. Ryusuke. Ino said with a smile. Last night she insisted on staying and sleeping with Yagami Ryusuke. Yagami Ryusuke couldn't resist her, so he had to agree. Of course. The two of them didn't do anything. At least they didn't do it that thoroughly. After all, you can't look at Ryusuke Yagami for a whole night without even touching one of Ino's fingers, right? That's obviously impossible. But if it's too much, Ryusuke Yagami really won't do it. After all, that's right for Ino. His health is also not good. Ryusuke Yagami really likes Ino, so he will naturally not hurt her for his own selfish purposes. As for using the pupil technique Tendo Rinnegan to make Ino grow up early, that's not impossible, it's just that Yagami Ryusuke felt it was unnecessary, acting as if he was so horny that he couldn't even wait for this little time. In the morning, after having breakfast at home, Yagami Ryusuke took Ino out. Because as promised to Tsunade yesterday, Yagami Ryusuke had to go to a meeting in the morning, so Yagami Ryusuke didn't take Ino shopping for too long. After just shopping for a while, he sent Ino back to her flower shop. After saying hello to Ino's mother, Yagami Ryusuke also turned and left under the gaze of Ino and her daughter. Ino, you guys did it yesterday. Yamanaka Zaiwa looked at her daughter as if she was hesitant to speak. Mom. What are you thinking? Ino blushed with embarrassment and said. Ryusuke said he would wait until I grow up a few years before we can, anyway, it's not what you think. After saying that, Ino ran upstairs with a red face. How many more years have to wait? Yamanaka Seihi looked disappointed. She also thought that maybe she would be able to have her grandson next year. But it turned out that she had to wait a few more years. However, knowing that Yagami Ryusuke loves her daughter so much, Yamanaka Seihi, from the bottom of my heart, I am extremely satisfied with the son-in-law. Even if Yagami Ryusuke is a little too carefree, it seems to be nothing. After all, what's wrong with a strong man having a few confidants around him? Of course. This kind of thing is left to Yagami Ryusuke, the perfect son-in-law, is fine, but what if it's her husband, Yamanaka Hiki? Haha. Let's see if Yamanaka Haya doesn't give you a big torture. I'll give you a slap. Don't go out and cause trouble everywhere. Right and wrong. Hokage building. Yagami Ryusuke said hello to the Umbu ninja at the door, and then walked upstairs. Dong dong dong. He raised his hand and knocked on the door of the Hokage's office, then opened the door and walked in. Here you go, sit down. Tsunade was sitting on a chair with her legs crossed, reading documents. Is it rare that she was actually working seriously? Yagami Ryuzyuk glanced at her in surprise, then said hello to Shizun and to Mary next to him, and walked over to sit down. Down. Ryuzyuk, I heard that Taito is going to hand over the position of Hokage to you. Tamari was sitting behind her small desk. She secretly glanced at Tsunade over there, and then asked softly to Ryusuke Yagami next to her. Seriously? Ryusuke? Yagami nodded, spread his hands and said, there is no way. Sister Tsunade has told me countless times, and I don't think it makes sense for her to be a hands-off shopkeeper. In this case, I can only do it reluctantly accepted. Tamari. After all, Naruto is the shadow of a village. Why do these two siblings act like they don't want to see each other? At this moment, Tsunade also put down the documents in her hand and glanced at Yagami Ryusuke with a pair of eyes. You kid, you get an advantage and still act nice. Yagami Ryusuke laughed. To be honest, it doesn't matter to him whether he is Hokage or not. He is exactly like what he said. If it weren't for Tsunade's kindness, he would never have thought of it. Becoming the Hokage of Konoha. After all, whether or not being the Hokage has no impact on Yagami Ryusuke. Is it possible that if he doesn't become the Hokage, others will look down on him? With his strength, no matter where he goes, everyone will give him face, you will even deliberately please him and flatter him. Of course. People like Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo will probably be exceptions. If they are still alive and still in their original positions. I am afraid they will try their best to kill Yagami Ryusuke. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. To prevent the existence of Yagami Ryusuke from affecting the power in their hands. So, this is the gap in the pattern. Tsunade has a bigger structure, so she is willing to delegate power. People like Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo have a small structure, short-sightedness, and can only see a little benefit in front of them. For this reason, they do not hesitate to harm their own people and give up great things. Future. Is anyone else coming? Ryusuke Yagami asked. There are also Jiraiya, your father-in-law, and Chikaku and the others. Tsunade said. Father-in-law. Oh. Hinata and Hinata. Yagami Ryusuke nodded. Then he sat down and waited peacefully, while chatting with Tamari and Shizun next to him. The two of them were amused from time to time. He chuckled. This made Tsunade on the side a bit unable to stand it. Hey. Don't affect their work. Tsunade patted the table and said. Ryusuke Yagami looked at her speechlessly. Please Tsunade-sama, you are the Hokage, okay, should you do all this work? I am Hokage, so of course I have the final say on what to do. Tsunade folded her hands and looked proud. Shizun, Tamari. Fortunately, at this time, Jiraiya and others also came one after another. Okay, now that everyone is here, let's have a meeting. Tsunade clapped her hands and said directly, I now propose that Ryusuke Yagami should succeed the 6th Hokage. Who is in favor and who is against? Those who objected raised their hands. A few of the people present looked at me and I looked at you. No one raised their hands. Very good, since everyone agrees, it is confirmed that Ryusuke Yagami will succeed the 6th Hokage. Tsunade nodded happily and said. No, is it so hasty? Yagami Ryusuke couldn't help but said, don't you guys want to discuss it? A few people looked at him and shook their heads. They were a million times willing to let Yagami Ryusuke be the Hokage. After all, Kami Ryusuke is now the strongest person in the ninja world. Coupled with what he had done for the village in the past, and their knowledge of Yagami Ryusuke, they all trusted Yagami Ryusuke. Certainly. This is not to say that Tsunade is not good as Hokage. Moreover, wasn't Tsunade the first to propose this suggestion? Okay. Seeing everyone's expressions of you are the most suitable to be the Hokage, Yagami Ryusuke had nothing to say. Since Ryusuke doesn't have any objections, let's discuss the timing of the 6th generation Hokage's taking office. Tsunade said with a smile, I think 3 days will be a good day. No, are you in such a hurry? This is a change of Hokage, not a change of husband. Okay. Even if it is a change of husband, there is no need to be in such a hurry, right? 3 days. I'm a bit pressed for time. It takes 2 or 3 days to get from Konoha to the Fire Country's Daming Mansion, but with Ryusuke's Flying Thunder God technique, it shouldn't be a problem. Nara. Shikaku said with a serious analysis. Wait a minute, why are you going to Daming Mansion? Ryusuke Yagami asked puzzledly. Ryusuke, the change of Hokage in the village requires the approval of the daimyo. Jiraiya on the side explained. Is there such a thing? Ryusuke Yagami thought about it, and it seems that it is true. However, he doesn't care about the big names and small names. No, there is no need to notify the daimyo about this matter. Ryusuke Yagami said directly. This. Several people present looked at him with embarrassed expressions. After all, there is no precedent for such a thing. In the past, every time a Hokage came to power, the daimyo would be notified in advance. However, after 2.1, Konoha would not proceed with the handover of Hokage until the daimyo approved it. Certainly. The daimyo is not a fool either. Under normal circumstances, it will not be disapproved. After all, Ninja Village is the strongest armed force in a country, and Damingfu is the head of the country's economy and general military power. Nominally, Ninja Village is a subordinate institution of Daming Mansion. You need to follow the arrangements of Daming Mansion. But in fact, most of the time, both parties do not interfere with each other. The Daming Mansion needs the power of ninjas. The Ninja Village needs the financial support of Daming Mansion. The two parties can be regarded as a cooperative and win-win relationship. It's just that the people who have always been dominant are not the ninja villages with strong military force, but the daimyo who seem to be weak in military force. This is something Ryusuke Yagami doesn't understand very much. He is just an ordinary person. How can he stand on top of the shadow of a village and show off his power? Does the change of Lianying require the approval of the daimyo? Just because Ninja Village needs financial support from Daming Mansion? Then why don't ninjas directly support a puppet daimyo to rise to power? After an illusion has passed, won't everyone obey me? Why not? In the final analysis, it was the deep-rooted thoughts of the ninja world over the past 1,000 years that caused them to instinctively regard the daimyo as a superior monarch, without even thinking of resisting. To put it harshly, it is too servile. However, Ryusuke Yagami will note what a bullshit name. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 248. Okay, since you asked me to be the Hokage, then listen to me. Ryusuke. Yagami said in a tone that left no room for doubt, from now on, Konoha will no longer obey any orders from the Daming Palace. The Fire Country is not the Fire Country of the Daming Palace, but the Fire Country of Konoha. After hearing what Ryusuke Yagami said, everyone present pondered for a moment and nodded. Ryusuke, what are you going to do? Tsunade asked. Very simple. Ryusuke Yagami said and clapped his hands. The technique of wood clone. Bang. Another Yagami Ryusuke appeared next to him. Go, control the Daming Mansion, and kill all the disobedient ones. If the Daming is willing to be Konoha's dog, let him live. If not, just support one of his sons, daughters, or whatever. Ryusuke Yagami ordered to his wooden clone. The wooden clone nodded and then disappeared into the Hokage's office. Everyone. No, this is your approach? Is it so direct? But thinking about Ryusuke Yagami's strength. It seems that it can indeed be so straightforward. But if it were anyone else, even a strong man with shadow-level strength would not dare to do this. After all, it is easy to capture Daming Mansion. But the subsequent chain reactions are not something they can afford. Okay, the Daming Mansion matter has been resolved, are there any other problems next? Yogamai Ryosuke asked. He didn't take the Daming Mansion seriously at all. A mere daimyo, like an ant, has no qualifications for Yagamai Ryosuke to take him seriously. Just send a wooden clone there. Take it easy. It can be done easily. If there was no need to notify Daming Mansion, then things would be much simpler. Nara Shikaku said, since Tsunade-sama wants to hand over Fire 04 in 3 days, we should prepare now. Yes, it's really time to prepare in advance. Hayagahizu also nodded. At the same time, he was also thinking in his heart that his son-in-law really had no taboos. He actually refused to give the daimyo any face. He even asked the daimyo to be a dog for Konoha. For this kind of thing, don't talk about him. Has anyone here heard of it? Even a grumpy rakage like the rakage of Kyomagakure village is polite to the daimyo of the Land of Thunder. Unexpectedly, Ryosuke Yagamai, who usually looks kind and amiable, is really serious. Come on, she is really overbearing and doesn't give anyone a chance to refute. Either be a dog or die. I don't know what the famous gentleman will choose. Does that mean there's nothing wrong with me? Ryosuke Yagamai asked. After hearing this, Tsunade nodded, okay, you have a good rest these 3 days, and after 3 days, you will directly participate in the succession ceremony. By then, you will be the 6th Hokage of Konoha. Then I will be free. Tsunade added in her mind. Okay, let me know in 3 days. Ryosuke Yagamai nodded and disappeared into the office in an instant. Shikaku, announce the news and let everyone know. Tsunade also ordered with a serious face at this time, Hizatsu, you are responsible for the succession ceremony. Nara Shikaku and Hinata Hayashi nodded. Jiraiya, you, forget it, let Kakashi come over later. Tsunade wanted to say something, but later changed her words temporarily. When Jiraiya heard this, he immediately became unhappy. No, Tsunade, what do you mean? Look down on me. Jiraiya looked angry. Tsunade chuckled. You are so unreliable in doing things, she said unceremoniously. She didn't give Jiraiya any face at all. Jiraiya. Gen. Aimed at me, right? I can't stay in this village anymore, I want to run away from home. Jiraiya sulked angrily. I thought to myself that I must go find Naruto later and find an excuse to scold him so that I can vent my anger. After all, facing Tsunade, Jiraiya really couldn't stand up. He has been afraid of Tsunade since he was a child. Probably because of the psychological shadow of childhood. As a result, he was a little scared when facing Tsunade now. The Kingdom of Fire, Daming Mansion. This is the most prosperous city in the Fire Country and also the largest city. In the center of the city, a building built on a mountain that encompasses the entire mountain is the daimyo's official residence. The daimyo of the Fire Country would meet with various officials here every day to discuss various strategies for governing the country. Certainly. More often than not, the daimyos of the Fire Country enjoy themselves in their official residences. The daimyo of the Land of Fire had 19 wives. Except for the original wife, who was fat and unattractive, the rest of the concubines were all very outstanding beauties. In addition, there are 300 maids, 600 servants, several samurai, several ninjas, plus 3,000 soldiers guarding the daimyo's mansion in the daimyo's mansion. The defense here, even if a shadow-level powerhouse comes, can't even think of a silent invasion. On this day, as usual, the daimyo dismissed all his officials after holding a morning meeting. Then he asked the dancing girl to perform for him, enjoying himself while listening to the report of the minister. At this moment, a figure appeared in the sky above the daimyo's official residence. The wooden clone of Ryusuke Yagamai lowered his head and looked down at the huge official residence, and then the light of the Rinnegan in his eyes shone down, covering the entire Daming Mansion in an instant. In an instant, everyone in Daming Mansion stopped what they were doing. Each one of them looked up at the sky with dull faces, and then knelt down on the ground, as if they had seen a god. In the daimyo's official residence, the daimyo who had been having fun just now was looking at the people around him with a horrified look as they knelt on the ground with dull expressions. Who? Kawakami! Kawakami! The daimyo shouted loudly, but he didn't get any response. Kawakami is his guardian ninja, just like Sarutobi Asuma, he is a ninja whose duty is to protect the daimyo. What about his strength? So, that is, the level of an elite jounin. Not even a film level 1. But even so, Kawakami is the guardian ninja that the daimyo relies on most. After all, among the many guardian ninjas, Kawakami is already the strongest. Every time the daimyo travels, he takes him with him. Stop shouting, they can't hear you. At this time, a figure appeared in front of the daimyo. The daimyo screamed in fright and sat down on the ground. Who are you? Kawakami! Kawakami! The daimyo was still calling. The wooden clone of Ryusuke Yagamai looked at him coldly and said, Mr. Daimyo, I have only one thing to inform you. From now on, the daimyo mansion will surrender to Konoha. You, this famous name of the fire country, will be an obedient dog next to Konoha Hokage from now on. What? Are you a ninja from Konoha? Damn thing. As soon as the daimyo heard this, he stood up and cursed loudly. Oh. It seems you don't want to be a dog. The wooden clone nodded and said clearly, okay, since you don't want to be a dog, then let someone else do it. Let me see what airs you have. While speaking, the wooden clone raised his arm, and a red portal opened in front of him, and figures with dull faces walked out of it. What? The daimyo looked at the scene in front of him with disbelief. These people who came out of the red portal were all his children. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. The oldest ones are already 2 years old. They are teenagers. The youngest is only 6 or 7 years old. Bastard, what do you want to do? Let them go. The daimyo shouted angrily. But he was too scared to even take a step closer to the wooden clone. Ha! Incompetent rage. The wooden clone sneered, then pointed at the children of the daimyo in front of him and said, Mr. Daimyo, since you don't want to be a dog, then I can only choose one of your children. Which one do you think is more suitable? The daimyo glared at him. What on earth do you want to do? Where is Konoha's Hokage? Where's Tsunade? Did she ask you to come? Oh. Didn't I introduce myself? Mew clone slapped his forehead and said sorry. It was an oversight on my part. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Ryusuke Yagamai, an elite jonin of Konoha and the incoming 6th generation Hokage. Of course, to be precise, I am a clone of him. It was the main body who asked me to come here and deal with you, a famous figure in the land of fire. Ryusuke Yagamai? I have heard of this name from the fire country daimyo. Many people have mentioned this man's deeds in front of him. They all say that he is the most powerful ninja in the ninja world. He is invincible and invincible. Strong. Are you Ryusuke Yagamai? The daimyo was so frightened that he broke into a cold sweat. Moreover, the other party also said that he was the upcoming 6th generation Hokage of Konoha. That's what he said, Konoha is going to rebel? Build? No, to be precise, the relationship between us will change from now on. The wooden clone shook his head and said. What? How does this guy know what I am thinking? I don't know, I'm just guessing. The wooden clone said. The daimyo's eyes widened. You still don't know? Who are you fooling? Okay, stop talking nonsense and choose one. Mu-clone said with his hands folded. No, I won't choose. The daimyo said with a fierce look on his face. Don't want to choose? Then let them choose. The wooden clone shook his head and glanced at the heirs of the famous names in front of him. In an instant, these people who looked dull just now woke up one after another. What happened? Why am I here? Father? What happened? Brother, why are you here? Sister, I'm afraid. After waking up, the heirs of these daimyo looked around in shock. After seeing their father, these people also asked what happened. At this moment, bang bang bang. The wooden clone clapped his hands, attracting everyone to look over. Well, now I have something to inform you, which should be good news for you, the wooden clone said with a smile. Your father, the daimyo, is going to abdicate and give the daimyo's position to one of you. Who do you think is more suitable to inherit the daimyo's position? What? Hearing this, the descendants of the daimyo were all shocked. Father, is it true? Father, are you going to abdicate? Father, I can do it. People who have ideas about the position of daimyo are already asking impatiently at this time. The daimyo of the fire country also looked at these children with a dark face. Each of them usually behaves quite filial. Unexpectedly, at the critical moment, you are so impatient that you want him to abdicate. They are all bastards. Quiet. The voice of the wooden clone sounded. Under an inexplicable force, everyone became quiet. Maybe I forgot to mention that if one of you becomes a daimyo, you will become Konoha's lackey in the future. You must obey all orders of Konoha Hokage. Can you do that? Said the wooden clone. What? Why? The mere Hokage is just a subordinate of the Daming Mansion. How dare you? Do you dare to let a daimyo be a lackey? Asshole. Guard. Where are the guards? When these people heard this, they immediately yelled angrily, and some even shouted for the guards to take away the wooden clone. Unfortunately, after calling for a long time, no one responded. Hey! Why are you people so disobedient? The wooden clone shook his head, and then waved his hand. Bang! The guy who screamed the loudest just exploded into a bloody mist. Blood and flesh fragments splashed everywhere, and some even ran into other people's mouths. Ah! Killing! Brother! Big brother is dead. The wooden clone looked coldly at these shouting guys, and after a moment he spoke again. How is it? Does anyone else have questions now? These people looked at the wooden clone as if they saw a terrifying devil. They shook their heads like rattles. They didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. Great, now that there's no problem, who of you wants to be a daimyo? Being a daimyo? When these young masters and ladies who were frightened just now heard this, their eyes suddenly shone with strange light. I choose me. At this moment, a hand was raised and shouted loudly. The wooden clone looked at the person who spoke. Oh. Do you want to be a famous person? Can. The wooden clone nodded. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 249. Second sister, you. The others looked at the girl who raised her hands in disbelief. What's wrong? Why can't women be famous? The girl glanced at these brothers and sisters with sharp eyes and said. In fact, the patriarchal mentality in the ninja world is very serious. This can be seen from the status of male and female ninjas. The 5 hidden villages in the 5 major countries are in. Before Tsunade and Terumi came to power, there had never been a female figure. At the same time, there had never been a female figure in the daimyo of various large and small countries. Even if this woman is outstanding, she will still be considered to be at home to provide for her husband and children. Is correct. And obviously, the girl in front of her is not willing to find a husband to marry in the future, and then spend her whole life raising her husband and children at home. She had no chance before. She had no choice. But it is different now. Before her eyes. Although I don't know who this ninja is, the other party's strength is undoubtedly terrifying. The entire Diaming Mansion, no. Maybe even the entire Daming Mansion is controlled by the other party. People like them, in front of such a strong man, are weak. Just like ants on the ground. But what about ants? At least, at this moment, she is on the same starting line as the brothers and sisters around her. They all have a chance. Why can't she? Oh. Not bad, not ordinary, very good. The wooden clone said with a smile. The girl also looked at him with excitement. At this moment. Crack. A samurai sword was summoned by the wooden clone and landed in front of the girl. Take it and prove to me your determination to become a daimyo. The wooden clone said lightly. When the girl heard this, she picked up the katana on the ground without hesitation, and then glanced fiercely at her younger brothers and sisters. Second sister, no. Second sister, you are always the best to me, don't kill me. Woohoo. Mom, I want mom. Everyone else was frightened. They looked at the girl holding a samurai sword and backed away one by one. Several people crowded together, fearing that the girl in front of them would cut them with a knife. Don't worry, I won't kill you. The girl said. The next second, poof. The cold samurai sword stabbed directly into the stomach of the daimyo behind her. The daimyo who was stabbed stared at the daughter in front of him in disbelief. Father, I said, I will make you regret it. The girl's eyes were full of resentment as she looked at the daimyo's father who was gradually falling in front of her. Then she pulled out her katana and stabbed the daimyo's chest with another knife. The heart was directly penetrated by the sharp samurai sword. You. The daimyo lying in a pool of blood just raised his hand and said one word, then tilted his head and died immediately. Bang bang bang. The wooden clone clapped his hands and looked at the girl with admiration. You are very good. The wooden clone said. Bang. The girl dropped the katana in her hand and knelt directly in front of the wooden clone. Sir, Yuji is willing to serve you. The girl Yuji knelt on the ground and swore allegiance to Ryusuke Yagamai. Very good, you will be the famous name of the Fire Kingdom from now on. The wooden clone nodded, followed by the reincarnation eyes in his eyes, and directly implanted the memory of Yuji becoming the name of the Fire Nation into the ministers of the Fire Nation, and asked them to be loyal to Yuji. Of course. Their first allegiance is the target is still Ryusuke Yagamai. The second one is Yuji. This is also to make it easier for Yuji to take over everything of the former daimyo of the Land of Fire. To avoid any accidents or the like. Next, the wooden clone explains to Yuji again after a while, she was finally asked to go to Konoha 3 days later to attend the succession ceremony of the 6th Hokage. Then she disappeared directly into the Daming Palace. As soon as the wooden clone left, the Daming Palace, which had been pressed on the static button, returned to life again. People standing up from the ground, everyone continued to do what they had just done with a natural expression, as if nothing had happened before. In the daimyo's mansion, Yuji, who had just become the new daimyo, was also ordering the guards in the mansion. They were carrying out the final finishing work. With the wooden clone using illusions to reveal the truth to her, these guards had already determined that Yuji was the daimyo. Even though they personally handled the daimyo's body, they didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Place. Regarding the matter of the daimyo of the Land of Fire, Yagamai Ryusuke checked the memory after the wooden clone came back and determined that there was no problem, so he stopped paying attention. He had already helped Yuji clear all obstacles. If so, she would still be if you don't like this great name of the Fire Country. Then, at that time, there will only be one more person to replace. 3 days. It will pass quickly. Ever since the news spread 3 days ago that Ryosuke Yagamai was going to become the 6th Hokage, the whole of Konoha had become lively. The wealthy businessmen or ninjas from other villages who were originally preparing to leave decided to stay and wait until they finished watching this grand event before leaving after hearing the news. As for, why did the 5th Hokage abdicate so soon? No one really cares about this. The very few people who care about this issue will also be educated by others around them. Tell them about the relationship between the 5th Hokage and the 6th Hokage, and tell them that this is a transfer of power between siblings. Some people even claimed that they had inside information, saying that they had originally wanted Ryosuke Yagamai to become the 5th Hokage. It's just that Ryosuke Yagamai was still too young at that time to convince the public. That's why I invited Tsunade back to help Yagamai Ryosuke make the transition. Those who were originally doubtful about Tsunade's abdication so soon, suddenly realized what was happening when they heard that this was the case. So that's what happened. These people think. This day, the weather was clear and the sky was cloudless. In the central square of Konoha, a large number of villagers gathered here early. There are also wealthy businessmen and officials from other villages. Even the newly appointed daimyo Yuji of the Land of Fire came in person. Many people are actually quite curious about the change of the name of the Land of Fire, because everything happened so suddenly. 3 days ago, news suddenly came out that the original daimyo had been assassinated. Then Princess Yuji quickly rose to power and became the new daimyo of the Fire Country. Moreover, the rebellions expected by some other countries did not happen. The ministers of the Fire Country all seemed to support Princess Yuji's ascension to the throne. This is very strange. If you want to read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. It is also very unreasonable. After all, there has never been a case of a woman becoming a daimyo in the ninja world. Yuji's rise to the top can be said to be unique. And today, this Yuji daimyo also appeared in Konoha village. Attended the inauguration ceremony of Ryosuke Yagamai, the 6th Hokage of Konoha. Many ninjas from other countries couldn't help but look curiously at the new daimyo of the Fire Country, wanting to see what she had, but no matter how they looked at her, she was just a very delicate-looking girl. It is completely impossible to connect these 5 words with legendary female name. It's very hard to understand. On the newly built high platform. After Tsunade finished her speech, Yagamai Ryosuke walked to the center under the gaze of countless people. From now on, the village will be entrusted to you. Tsunade personally took off her Hokage hat and put it on for Ryosuke Yagamai. Although she actually only wore this hat once on the day she took office. I will make the village more prosperous. Ryosuke Yagamai said. Tsunade also nodded with a look of relief. Then she gave up her position to Ryosuke Yagamai, the new Hokage of Konoha. The 6th Hokage, Ryosuke Yagamai. This book it's Kakashi's position, but, now there is nothing wrong with Kakashi. Wherever the leaves are flying, the fire is endless. Ryosuke Yagamai stood on the high platform, looked at the dark crowd below, and said loudly, Konoha is not the Konoha of Hokage alone, but is built by countless people united together and working together. From now on, as Hokage, I will definitely take the lead and manage this village for everyone, but this still requires everyone's joint efforts. Let us build a better Konoha together. Ryosuke Yagamai raised his arms and shouted, the future belongs to Konoha. Belongs to Konoha. Belongs to Konoha. Belongs to Konoha. The dark crowd below also shouted like a mountain roaring and a tsunami. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at the effect with satisfaction, and then looked at Yuji on the other side. The latter also lowered his head in fear. It turned out that he was Muyes Hokage. Yuji thought to herself. She had been guessing who the mysterious man was for the past few days. It wasn't until she came to Konoha today and saw Yagamai Ryosuke who succeeded the 6th Hokage. Yuji didn't know, it turned out that day that person is the new member of Konoha village Naruto. In the Hokage's office. Ryosuke Yagamai sat in the Hokage's seat. There is also a long table to his right, which is where his Hokage assistants usually work. Is this what you call leading by example? Tsunade looked at Ryosuke Yagami with a joking expression and said, I just set up 2 Hokage assistants. How about you, just get 6, Yagami? Ryosuke glanced at her and said calmly, you are squeezing the labor force of employees. This is what I call reasonable distribution. Tsunade. Moreover, when I say lead by example, I don't mean dealing with these documents. Ryosuke Yagami said, if the Fire Country goes to war with other countries, I, as the Hokage, will naturally go to the battlefield first. Tsunade beeped softly, tch, he said it as if any country dared to attack the land of fire now. Ryosuke Yagami pretended not to hear. Anyway, this is his will of fire. The Hokage leads the way, and the whole village works together to build a better Konoha. As the saying goes, where the leaves of Konoha fly, the fire also grows. Those villagers are like the flying leaves, and he is the gust of wind. Since the village is no longer a village for him, the Hokage, then why should he handle these documents alone? So, Ryosuke Yagami, there is no problem at all in setting up 6 seats for Hokage assistants. This is called reasonable distribution of work. Do you know what it means to know people and make good use of them? It is no longer popular to monopolize power. Okay, you can always tell a bunch of nonsense. Tsunade waved her hand, knowing that she couldn't speak to Yagami Ryosuke, so she simply didn't delve into this issue further. Just in time, at this time, the 6 assistants appointed by Yagami Ryosuke also arrived. Lord Hokage. Tsunade-sama. The 6 people said respectfully. Then at Ryosuke Yagami's signal, they all took their seats. Zhao Li, from now on, you will work here. Let's make Konoha glorious again. Ryosuke Yagami said. Tsunade. It would be a pity if this guy doesn't do MLM. The 6 assistants selected by Ryosuke Yagami, except for the original Shizune and Temari. 4 additional people, Konan, Yukito, Narashikaku, and Hinata Hayashi, were also added. Zionin has previous experience in managing Yuyan village. I am no stranger to this job and can get started quickly. Although Yamuren has never done these things before. But she can learn. I believe you can adapt to it soon. In addition, there are Shizune and Temari, 2 assistants during the previous Hokage period. And old-timers like Narashikaku and Hinata Hayashi. I believe they will be able to complete these tasks in the village very well. You go to work. Ryosuke Yagami, the 6th generation Hokage, nodded to the 6 people, and then left the Hokage's office with Tsunade. The remaining 6 people left in the office also looked at each other. Then they smiled bitterly. Start processing the large pile of documents in front of you. Really, why do 2 generations of Hokages have this kind of virtue? Narashikaku shook his head speechlessly. Then he glanced at Hinata Hisashi aside, his eyes seemed to say, why don't you talk to your son-in-law? However, Hinata Hinashi looked like he didn't see Narashikaku's eyes. He lowered his head and focused on his work. That serious look, Narashikaku was too embarrassed to expose him. The acting is real and fake. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 250. On the rooftop of the Hokage building. Yagami Ryosuke stood on the edge of the rooftop, looking at the entire village. The white royal robe on his body was flying up and down in the wind, and the words 6th Hokage behind him were as bright as burning flames. Tsunade-sama, do you think the village is a bit small? Ryosuke Yagami said suddenly. Tsunade, who was standing next to him, thought about it and said, it is indeed a bit small. In fact, the number of births in the village has been increasing in the past 2 years, and the residential area has been expanding. It's still too slow. I plan to expand the village another 5 kilometers. What do you think? Although the village of Konoha is actually not small, compared to a village, Konoha is already very big. Even bigger than some small cities in the Land of Fire. However, Ryosuke Yagami still feels that Konoha the leaves are too small. In the original work, Pain and Super Shinra Tenzen can directly cover it. It feels a bit petty. Moreover, who stipulates that Konoha can only be a village? Can't it be a city? Moreover, even a village can be built very big. Now that you are Hokage, you can do whatever you want. Tsunade said. Hearing this, Ryosuke Yagami also nodded. However, the expansion work cannot be completed in a day or two. Ryosuke Yagami plans to ask his 6 assistants to draw up a plan for him when he goes back later. Here comes a feasible plan. At noon, Ryosuke Yagami invited his 6 assistants out for a nice meal. After all, if you let people work for you, you can't treat them badly in terms of food. Eat something good, and it will be better. Vigorous work, isn't it? After lunch, Ryosuke Yagami sat in the Hokage's office, wondering what the hell is going on over there with Obito. Why is there still no movement after so long? It can't be an accident. Already. How about sending a wooden clone over to take a look? Ryosuke Yagami thought. At this moment. Ding. Huh. Ryosuke Yagami raised his head in confusion. System. Next second. Naruto Chat Group 657 invites you to join. Do you want to accept the invitation? Whether? A question mark appeared on Yagami Ryosuke's forehead. Naruto Chat Group? What the hell? Isn't my golden finger a talent entry system? Why is there another Naruto Chat Group? And it was the day he became Hokage. Is it possible that only the Hokage can join this Naruto Chat Group? So the invitation to the chat group only appeared after he became Hokage? At this moment, Ryosuke Yagami thought a lot in his mind, and then he looked at the invitation notice in his mind and chose to accept the invitation from Hokage chat group. Let me see what you are good for. Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. Ding. Welcome Sandaime Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen to join the Hokage chat group. Welcome the 4th Hokage. Minato Namikaze to join the Hokage chat group. Welcome 6th Hokage and Ryosuke Yagami to join the Hokage chat group. Brush. A chat group interface suddenly appeared in his mind. Ryosuke Yagami looked at the list of group members curiously, and he just seemed to hear that 3 Hokages had joined the chat group. Among them was Sarutobi Hiruzen. Old guy. Wait. Is it a parallel world? It can't be the soul body of the Pure Land, right? Moreover, the soul of Hiruzen Sarutobi is not in the Pure Land, it should be in the belly of the god of death. Orochimaru will get the death mask later and lift it only after the ghouls are banned can they be released and return to the Pure Land. However, Yagami Ryosuke does not know that Orochimaru has found the death mask in advance, and has lifted the seal of the ghouls and released the sealed souls. Of course. In this chat group, the Sarutobi Hiruzen who just joined is indeed not the Sarutobi Hiruzen of the ninja world where Yagami Ryosuke is. At this time, in the Hokage chat group, Yagami Ryosuke's eyes swept across the group member list. It was found that in addition to the 3 Hokages who had just joined, there were 4 old members. The first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. The first Hokage, Uchiha Madara. The second Hokage, Senju Tobirama. The fourth Hokage, Hatake Sakumo. Ryosuke Yagami had a question mark on his face. There is nothing wrong with Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama. But who can tell me, who are the first Hokage Uchiha Madara and the fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo? Just when Ryosuke Yagami was wondering if there was something wrong with these 2 people, someone in the Hokage chat group also started talking. First Hokage Senju Hashirama. Wow. There are 3 new people here this time, but why is there no second generation? Nidame Hokage Senju Tobirama. Brother, don't think about it, I told you, I must be the only Nidame. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara. Trash Tobirama, don't be so confident. If I want to pass Hokage to someone, I will never pass it on to you. Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama Uchiha Madara, have you forgotten how you promised my brother? The Hokage takes turns to sit, first let you Uchiha sit, and then Senju will sit. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara. Even if I pass it on to anyone else in your Senju clan, I can't pass it on to you. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. First generation? Second generation? Wait, why is Madara Uchiha also the first generation? First Hokage Senju Hashirama. Okay, Madara, stop arguing with Tobirama, and don't let the newcomers see the joke. Newcomers who join the group can read the group announcement, and then they will understand. Ryusuke Yagami saw it. After saying this, I also ran to read the announcement of this Hokage chat group. The content of the announcement is quite simple. It is to tell the Hokage who join the chat group to let them know that they are Konoha Hokage from different parallel worlds and not from the same time and space. Really? Ryusuke Yagami had already guessed it? At this time, the big pillar in the chat group was talking again. First Hokage Senju Hashirama. That Sandame just now, what's your name? The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Back to Hashirama-sama, my name is Sarutobi Hiruzen. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara. Idiot Hasi, haven't everyone's names been written clearly? Are you still asking? First Hokage Senju Hashirama. Haha. I accidentally forgot, but Hiruzen Sarutobi, are you from the Sarutobi clan? The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Yes, Hashirama-sama. I am Tobirama-sensei's disciple in a parallel ninja world. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had just been the Hokage for a few years, looked surprised. He looked uncertainly at the Hokage chat group in his mind. I didn't expect that such a magical thing existed in this world, and, in other parallel worlds, Uchiha Madara became the first Hokage. Can teacher Tobirama still become the second generation? Can I still become Hokage in that world? Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression changed. Just now, he was using the telescope to patrol the village daily, inspecting the people's sentiments, and caring about the physical condition of the villagers. But he suddenly received an invitation from the Hokage chat group. Originally, Sarutobi Hiruzen thought he was under an illusion, but no matter what he did, he couldn't eliminate the invitation prompt in his mind. This made him realize, that this might not be an illusion. So he accepted the invitation to the Hokage chat group and wanted to see what on earth is this. I didn't expect to see such an exciting scene. The first Hokage, Uchiha Madara? Are you kidding? But does this chat group only invite Hokage from different parallel worlds? No wonder it's called the Hokage chat group. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought. Then he found a new member on the member list who joined at the same time as him. Sixth generation, I didn't expect that there would be such a later Hokage to join. There were also 2 fourth generation Hokages, one named Namikaze Minato and the other named Heitake Sakumo. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of cigarette, and the smoke was lingering in front of his eyes. Heitake Sakumo knew that the second ninja war had just begun, and this ninja of the Heitake clan had already broken out of the woods on the battlefield. The title of Yebya. He is very powerful. In terms of reputation, he is even more famous than his 3 disciples. This makes Sarutobi Hiruzen a little afraid of Heitake Sakumo. Will I pass the position of Hokage to Heitake Sakumo in the future? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought, then shook his head. No, there is no way I can pass on the position of Hokage to an outsider, so this should be another change in the parallel world. By the way, could this Heitake Sakumo be my disciple in the parallel world? While Sarutobi Hiruzen was thinking in his mind, 2 other newcomers in the Hokage chat group also spoke. First Hokage Senju Hashirama Tobirama's disciple? I see, I understand. Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama brother, I actually wanted to say it a long time ago. Monkey is one of the disciples I have recently accepted, along with Shimura Danzo, Akimichi Taifeng, Uchiha Kagami, and Koharu Koharu. And Mito Monitis. First Hokage Senju Hashirama no, Tobirama, why did you accept so many disciples? First Hokage Uchiha Madara. Trash Tobirama, didn't you say that all of us Uchiha are evil? Why do you accept this brat named Uchiha Kage as your disciple? Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, what do you know? Kagami is different from other Uchihas. He has empathy and is not as arrogant as other Uchihas, and he is truly loyal to the village. See for exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. First Hokage Uchiha Madara, what do you mean Senju Tobirama? Are other Uchiha not loyal to Konoha? I think you are prejudiced. Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, I don't know about you. After all, you have become Hokage. Those Uchiha must be loyal to you, but on my side, the Uchiha clan has a lot of opinions about the village. One day we will have a meeting tonight and scold me as a Hokage. The fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. So during the second generation period, the conflict between the Uchiha clan and the village was already so deep. Fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo Minato, I didn't expect you to become Hokage in another world. The fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato Sakumo-sama, I never thought that one day I would be able to talk to you again. The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo, what do you mean? I was sacrificed in your world. Fourth generation Hokage Namikaze Minato, that, how to say? Namikaze Minato, who was sitting in the office and correcting documents, looked at the chat group in his mind with a troubled expression. He didn't know whether he should tell Hatake Sakumo in the chat group that he committed suicide in the parallel world. And he committed suicide because of the failure of the mission and the oppression of public opinion. Would that offend others? Minato Namikaze had just joined this Hokage chat group, and he didn't want to offend an old member so quickly. Fortunately, at that time, someone spoke again in the chat group. It was the sixth generation Hokage. He directly helped Namikaze Minato make the choice. Sixth generation Hokage Ryuzuki Yagami Sakumo Senpai, you are indeed dead, and you committed suicide. Because you failed in the mission, you blamed yourself too much, and the villagers pointed at you, so you committed suicide at home. The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara. You're committing suicide now? Your mental quality is so poor. The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo, it's really, what a bad news. But luckily this kind of thing doesn't happen in my world. The sixth Hokage Ryusuke Yagami, I would like to ask, Sakumo Senpai, do you have a teacher? The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo, what I originally wanted to say before, in fact, my teacher Ritz the Sandaime Hokage who just joined the group. Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, are you my disciple? Nidaime Hokage Senju Tobirama, it's another you, monkey. Sixth generation Hokage Ryusuke Yagami, that's it, then it's no wonder you can become Hokage. The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo, what do you mean? I don't understand very well. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the content sent by the sixth Hokage in the chat group, and suddenly his heart skipped a beat, secretly thinking that something was going to happen. Although Hatake Sakumo committed suicide, it has not happened at all on his side. But Sarutobi Hiruzen knew very well that he was afraid of this Hatake Sakumo. Because his prestige in the village is too high. Taller than his three disciples. If this continues, something will definitely happen when the fourth generation is elected in the future. So, when I saw this sentence from the sixth generation Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen instinctively realized that Hatake Sakumo's suicide was related to him. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 251. No, what happened to this sixth generation? Why is he saying this in the group? Sarutobi Hiruzen scratched his hair and took a few puffs of cigarette anxiously. No, what am I in a hurry for? Even if I really did this thing, it was also done by another me in the parallel world. What does it have to do with me? Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly made a move, and the tense expression on his face also relaxed. That's right, there's no need for me to be nervous or anxious. Just let him do it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. Besides, even if Tobirama-sama and Hashirama-sama accuse me, what will happen? Is it possible that they can come across the world and beat me up? After thinking about all this, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the contents of this Hokage chat group and suddenly didn't care. Say it, it doesn't matter. Old God Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of cigarette and said with a smile. 6th generation Hokage Yagami Ryusuke. It's very simple. Regarding Sakumo Senpai's suicide, it is actually a conspiracy in itself. First Hokage Senju Hashirama conspiracy? Tell me. First Hokage Uchiha Madara. Haha. I knew it. Otherwise, how could a perfectly good person commit suicide because of the failure of a mission? Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. Brother, stop talking. The fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato. Has the 6th generation investigated this matter? The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. I would like to hear the details. The fourth Hokage Hatake Sakumo. Is it a conspiracy? I also think that I in another world should not be so fragile. I just committed suicide after being accused. It's unlikely. There must be other reasons. 6th generation Hokage Yagami Ryusuke. This matter was investigated clearly during the 5th generation. Sakumo Senpai is right. There is indeed another reason. Otherwise, Sakumo Senpai, you would also be a legend in World War II and 3 wars. Ninjas are not that fragile inside. First Hokage Senju Hashirama. World War II and 3 wars? Are they the second ninja war and the third ninja war? Are there so many wars behind the ninja world? The second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Brother, don't speak. Let the 6th generation continue in a parallel ninja world, within the Senju clan. Senju Tobirama, who was sitting in the yard, looked gloomy as he looked at the Hokage chat group in his mind. Monkey, did you do this? Senju Tobirama thought with a frown. As smart as he was, he had already guessed some features, but he couldn't be sure yet. Then, his eyes fell on the name of the 6th generation Hokage. Night God. There seems to be no such ninja clan in the village, so like that Namikaze Minato, are they all Hokage from civilian background? That's not bad. As for his elder brother's proposal to Danin clan, Senju Tobirama actually agrees with it. But he thinks it should be done slowly. But his elder brother directly integrated the entire Senju clan into Konoha. Although the Senju clan is still retain the core clan members of the Hand clan, but most of the ordinary clan members have taken the Senju surname and become commoners in the village. Senju Tobirama has always felt that his elder brother's decision is a bit too radical. However, after seeing there were 2 Hokages with commoner backgrounds among the juniors, and Senju Tobirama was quite pleased. He thought, maybe the eldest brother's decision was right. The 6th Hokage Ryusuke Yagami. The whole thing is actually very simple. It is that Sarutobi Hiruzen is afraid that Hatake Sakumo has too much prestige in the village, which is not conducive to his control of the election of the 4th Hokage, so he needs to be suppressed. Prestige caused him to lose the chance to run for the 4th generation. The 4th Hokage Hatake Sakumo. This, is it Sarutobi sensei? The 6th Hokage Ryusuke Yagami. He is Hiruzen Sarutobi in my world. Of course, Minato Senpai's world should be similar, because my 4th generation is also Minato Senpai. The 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato. That's true, but I always thought it was Danzo Shimura who did it. The 6th Hokage Ryusuke Yagami. You are right, Minato Senpai, because this matter was discussed by the 3 members of the elders and Hiruzen Sarutobi, but Danzo Shimura later made the decision on his own initiative. He made a big fuss and made things even bigger. 6th generation Hokage Yagami Ryosuke Sakumo Senpai was frustrated because he understood what Konoha's top brass thought of him, and he also considered the future of his son Hatake Kakashi, so he finally decided to commit suicide to apologize. This way at least his son Kakashi will be fine. Yondaime Hokage Hatake Sakumo, damn it. They still want to implicate Kakashi. The first Hokage Senju Hashirama the Hokage, together with the entire village's top management, suppressed the war heroes in the village. The reason is because the other party's prestige is too high? It doesn't make sense. What kind of bullshit reason is this? Tobirama. Look at what you taught him. Good disciple. The second Hokage Senju Tobirama. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara, haha. Hashi hot mom, with your brother's character, what kind of good disciple can he train? By the way, isn't that Sarutobi Hiruzen also in the group? You guys just ask him directly. Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, no. That's not me. I have never done such a thing at all. I have only been the Hokage for a few years, and I will definitely not do such a thing in the future. Nidaime Hokage Senju Tobirama monkey. I hope you can keep your word. Don't let me down. Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, okay, Tobirama sensei. I promise. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara, haha. Master and disciple really protect each other. Second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama Uchiha Madara, shut up. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara, ha. Tobirama, you are anxious. It seems that you have guessed it a long time ago, and now it is confirmed. Are you unable to accept it, a certain parallel ninja world? Senju Tobi in the Senju clan, he was so angry that he overturned the small table in front of him. Damn Uchiha Madara! He said angrily. At the same time, he secretly hated the disciples he taught. They actually conspired together to do such a bastard thing. No, I must teach the monkeys well in the future, and I will never let them become like their future counterparts in other worlds. Senju Tobirama thought to himself. It's not too late to teach him well now. After all, the monkeys in his world are still young and their personalities have not yet been determined. They can completely change their future through education. However, just when Tobirama thought this, he saw a few conversations in the Hokage chat group. He suddenly became very angry again. Damn it! How will Monkey and the others develop such virtues in the future? Qian Xiaofijian said angrily. 6th generation Hokage Yagami Ryosuke, that's not all. Sarutobi Hiruzen did a lot of good things during his reign. For example, Minato Senpai, although you are now the Hokage, not all important things require Sarutobi. Can I pass with Hiruzen's permission? 6th generation Hokage Ryosuke Yagami, did he also set up another desk in the Hokage's office to supervise you every day and ask you to correct some trivial and insignificant documents, while the various powers in the village still in his hands? The 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze. What the hell, are you the roundworm in my stomach? How come everything is right? The 4th Hokage Hatake Sakumo. No, can your eyes see the situation on my side across the world? To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Hatake Sakumo in the Hokage's office glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was sitting not far away and smoking a cigarette. He hadn't felt anything before. Isn't it just the teacher guiding the disciples in their work? But now that these words were said by the 6th generation Hokage in this group, Hatake Sakumo felt awkward. Am I really being ignored? Am I a puppet Hokage? The 6th Hokage Ryosuke Yagami, don't deny it, you are just the puppet Hokage, the actual Hokage is still Hiruzen Sarutobi. The 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, you are right, I can't refute it. The 4th Hokage Hatake Sakumo, I thought it was quite normal at first, but now that you say this, it becomes more and more abnormal. Looking back now, it seems that every time my ninja comes to report something, he first Sarutobi sensei saluted, and then it was my turn. The first Hokage Uchiha Madara, haha. This Sarutobi Hiruzen is really powerful. At least in terms of controlling power, I, Uchiha Madara, would like to call you the strongest. Death. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at what everyone said in the Hokage chat group, even though he had comforted himself and told himself that the person they were talking about was not him. But he still felt very embarrassed. I don't even dare to speak in the group anymore. Afraid of being criticized. The sixth Hokage Ryusuke Yagamai, you don't think this is the end, do you? Minato-senpai, do you know how many years you have been the Hokage? The fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, this, otherwise, just stop talking. Minato also wants to save face. Is he thinking that he will be deprived of power in the future? It seems that the power has never come into his hands at all. Then it cannot be called seizing power, but being removed. Anyway, that must be a particularly embarrassing thing. He really didn't want the sixth Hokage to talk anymore, otherwise how could he chat with Hokages from other worlds in the group and exchange experiences on being Hokage? However, following Yagamai Ryusuke's words, Namikaze Minato instantly changed his mind. Sixth generation Hokage Ryusuke Yagamai, then what if I say that you and Kushina don't have many years to live? Don't you want to know? The fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, no. Please tell me carefully. Please. Will I die? Kushina will die too? And it hasn't been a few years? When Minato Namikaze saw the news, he almost stood up. What happened? Why did Kushina and I die? Is it because of Sarutobi Hiruzen? Could it be that I became disobedient in the future, so they thought they could no longer let me be the Hokage and planned to get rid of me? Namikaze Minato kept guessing in his mind. He actually directly thought of the possibility that he might have been killed by Sarutobi Hiruzen and others. However, let's not talk about it. In fact, the truth is somewhat related to what he guessed. After all, if Hiruzen Sarutobi hadn't been greedy for life and feared death, where would it have been Minato Namikaze's turn to use the corpse ban? A young and powerful Hokage, and an older Hokage who has abdicated. I wonder who should be sacrificed. It's a pity, the situation at that time was too critical, and Namikaze Minato himself was also confused. He felt that if his wife died, he would also die together. Without much thought, he just died with Kuwabai. Sixth generation Hokage Ryusuke Yagamai, to put it simply, in Konoha 48, a fool with a love brain released the nine tails while your wife was giving birth, and then you sealed the nine tails and saved the village. Directly used the forbidden technique to seal the nine tails into two parts, half of which was sealed in your own body, and the other half was sealed in your son's body. The sixth Hokage Ryusuke Yagamai at that time, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was commanding the overall situation from behind, while Danzo Shimura and his root organization stayed underground to watch the fun. Do you understand? Yes. Of course I understand. Everyone present is a Hokage, so of course they understand these things. It is precisely because I understand that it makes people feel even more angry. Especially Senju Tobirama. When he thought that Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo were his disciples, and even Sarutobi Hiruzen was the Hokage he personally appointed, Senju Tobirama was so angry that he really wanted to run away to the world where Namikaze Minato was. Give the Sarutobi Hiruzen of that world a good beating. Even more. Senju Tobirama no longer has a good impression of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, and others in his own world. I just feel like, why did I blindly accept so many gadgets? The night is not guaranteed. The night festival is not guaranteed. There was a burst of heartache in Qianshao Fijian. And what made him even more angry was, this guy Uchiha Madara also knew about it. Just watch, this guy will definitely seize this matter and laugh at him severely. As expected. As soon as Senju Tobirama thought about it, Uchiha Madara in the Hokage chat group was already laughing at Senju Tobirama. Damn Uchiha Madara. Qianshao Fijian clenched his fists angrily, but there was nothing he could do.